Near historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is a clear sky right now, and we have snow on the way to mid-Missouri. More on that in a moment. 19 right now in Columbia, 17 degrees in Jefferson City. Our high today, 26. Cloudy tonight with a chance of snow in the overnight hours into tomorrow morning with a low near 9. And then tomorrow, much colder with a high only 14 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. 1 to 2 inches of light snow is expected to fall tonight, between tonight and tomorrow morning in much of central Missouri. That includes Columbia and Jefferson City. National Weather Service Pleasant Hill meteorologist Brett Williams says snow is expected to start between 7 and 8 this evening, with the snow tapering off by about 9 Thursday morning. Good news is it's all snow, no ice, and Mr. Williams says it can still disrupt travel. You're being urged to be cautious on the road. That heaviest snow will be along the Highway 50 corridor in and just east of Jefferson City, to the south of there as well, and along the I-44 corridor. But Columbia will be getting that snow as well. Again, 1 to 2 inches are possible. Missouri House Republicans plan to get to work immediately as they gavel in later today at noon to begin the 2022 legislative session. It's the 8th and the final year in the House for powerful Speaker Rob Vescovo and the state representatives from mid-Missouri, Chuck Basie of Rocheport, Travis Fitzwater of Holt Summit. Speaker Vescovo does not plan to deliver a speech today. Also today, they will have the legislative prayer breakfast. That'll start at 9 Concord Baptist Church. The other one is tomorrow morning, and that's really the bigger one. They're both big. The governor's prayer breakfast is tomorrow at Jefferson City's Capitol Plaza Hotel. For the one tomorrow, more than 550 people, including Governor Parson and lawmakers in both parties, will attend. It's an interfaith event purpose, and the purpose of the event is to seek God's guidance for our political leaders in both parties as they start the session. 93.9 The Eagles' Branden Rathert will be the breakfast MC tomorrow. Breakdown in the House, by the way, 110 to 49, but that will change today because 2 Republican representatives, Justin Hill of Lake St. Louis and Aaron Griesheimer of Washington, plan to resign later today, so that number will go down to 108. Missouri lawmakers will have to move quickly to approve new congressional boundary maps because filing for office starts on February 22nd. Rocheport State Representative Chuck Basie serves on the Missouri House Special Committee on Redistricting.
We still have to go through the committee process, hear testimony. It's got to go through the committees. It's got to go through the House floor. Then it's got to go through the same thing on the Senate side. So I'm pretty sure that's going to change as we go forward.
Under the proposed congressional map that has been released, Boone, Cooper, and Randolph counties would remain in the 4th congressional district. Jefferson City and Fulton would stay in the 3rd congressional district. That's represented by GOP Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. The GOP governor still supports that gas tax approved by lawmakers in 2021, and he says it was the right thing for Missouri to do. Legislation has been filed by GOP lawmakers in both chambers to repeal the gas tax. Governor Mike Parson addressing the issue recently with Capitol reporters.
I think there's been a lot of positive things behind that. So we'll see what the legislature do, but it's way too early, I think, to predict what the legislative actions are going to be or what the end game will be on that.
The 12-cent gas tax increase signed by Parson last year increases Missouri's gas tax by 2.5 cents a year for 5 years. It's Missouri's first gasoline tax in 25 years. Missouri State troopers continue their investigation into Monday night's deadly head-on crash on Highway 63 north of Columbia. That crash killed 4. It left 3 children with serious injuries. A mid-Missouri man is dead after being killed. A horrific one-vehicle crash. Columbia's Rock Quarry Road. CPD says 24-year-old Caleb Wheeler of Columbia was southbound on Rock Quarry when his vehicle left the road Monday night, struck a tree, and overturned. He was not wearing a seatbelt and was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Missouri's transportation director says 2/3 of motorists killed in 2021 traffic crashes were not wearing their seatbelt. We have the brand new numbers this morning for 2021. MoDOT Director Patrick McKenna has announced that 1,004 people were killed in crashes in Missouri last year. It's the first time since 2006 the number has surpassed 1,000. He describes that number as alarming, unacceptable, and also preventable. And Columbia City staff members touting the successful completion of numerous projects, key projects in fiscal year 2021. They include the major Nifong project and $9 million runway extension at COU. That Nifong project involves numerous overlay, sidewalk, and island improvements between Providence and Forum. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you live on this Wednesday morning by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all of your heating needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News, time 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Mizzou women's players Haley Frank, Lauren Hansen, SEC co-players of the week. Blues in Pittsburgh. They'll battle the Penguins tonight. PPG Paints Arena. Puck drop 6:30. You'll see that game on TNT. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash. Our news time, 6:08. All right, Kevin, thanks so much. Our weather's brought to you by Club Car Wash, clubcarwash.com. 19 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And at 6:09, our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Roads right now in pretty good shape here in mid-Missouri. Again, we've got these dangerously low wind chills on their way. Snow in the forecast, so give yourself plenty of time. Try to gas your car up today and make sure you have a kit in your vehicle. The temperature will be the biggest issue tonight, along with that snow, about 1 to 2 inches expected. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Ladies and gentlemen, now an important announcement from the President of the United States of America.
We have the medicines coming along that can save so many lives and dramatically reduce the impact that COVID has had on our country. There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
Life has begun. By the way, so Joe Biden, I love the look of everybody in the studio right now, which you can see if you were watching on YouTube Live, 93.9 The Eagle Live on YouTube. Our life, I'm realizing after those comments yesterday from Joe Biden, we have a lot of reason to be hopeful for 2020. And here, one of my things, I don't make New Year's resolutions. If I want to make a change in my life, I'm going to do it right now. Fortunately, I don't want to make any changes. I'll make the change when I'm good and ready.
That's what I
Thank
was
you.
going to say.
Hannah's fact-checking me on that one. But if I want to make change, I'll do it whenever. I don't wait for New Year's. But one of the things I've been trying to work on, because I know I have people that are in a certain age group, like 70 plus, my father included, they're saying, hey, I dislike Joe's policies as much as you do, but the dude's got some serious health issues. And I'm like, yeah, but Dad, who do? I don't want to blame Biden voters. I don't want to do that. I can't pick on Biden. So I was going to, one of my things, I'm not going to focus on stumbles so much, because I do it all the time, too. And so I thought as it comes to his mental acuity, I thought, I'll back off. Joe says, Branden, happy birthday yesterday, and says, there's a lot of hope for 2020. God. But the thing is, all of this, and it's not just yesterday saying 2020, because that is an indicator. The guy, he's not well. He really is. And everybody knows it except for him, I think, and they're just waiting. And that's frightening. Our life has become a Saturday Night Live skit with this current administration. So Joe making those comments yesterday, hey, a lot of hope for 2020. So let's say somebody disregards what Joe said yesterday. It was a gaffe, said 2020 sounds like something I would say. But then we see what's happening already, man. These teachers' unions, from what I know about teachers' unions, listen, unions, whatever, but teachers' unions, from what I know, what I'm told from people that have run for school board and things like that, man, they can be some of the, from what I understand, some of the darkest. I mean, you talk about a dirty playbook. You talk about Andy Reid pulling out something, overtime, and his team is down. We got to do, and you pull out some of the dirtiest tricks you have. That's what they do. Chicago, last night, teachers union. They have 330,000 students in the Chicago public schools. Last night, teachers union said, I don't want to do that. How did it go yesterday for kids back in school? I know Hallsville area schools, they were going back today. Columbia schools going back. Southern Boone Co. going back yesterday.
Oh, my kids were elated. Last night I said, how did it go today? Just 2 thumbs up. We did this and we did this, and just smiles all around. And, that's really, the importance of kids being in seat in school. It improves their mood. They get to see all their friends. They're learning stuff. I mean, it's a place that they really want to be.
And if anybody says, well, blah, 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 just say, well, listen, let's go back to what Dr. Fauci said.
You almost have to say it's the responsibility of the parent to protect their child.
So you can quote him. He said, well, Fauci said, I got to protect my child. And in my mind, the best overall picture of health and protection for my child, that is my child going and being a child, my child going and hanging out with other childs and hanging out with Stephanie's kids at school.
Did you just say childs? Childs, yeah.
Being a child. And I think hanging out with other childs and all that. That's part of being a kid. Fauci said that. Well, he didn't say that, but he said it is your responsibility to protect your kid. He's dang right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's been the frustrating thing as a parent through this whole thing is realizing that your kids are getting a very different childhood than you had growing up. And so, I loved school. I can only imagine waking up in the morning and for months on end not being able to go to school. I think I've told the story, showing up to the park and the playground being covered in police tape, and having to explain to your kids why you can't hug your friend, why you can't say anything, why you can't go to school. I mean, there were lots of tears in our house in 2020 when they said, you know what, you're not going back to school. And, just with all of the changes and the continued, again, my daughter she got quarantined her kindergarten year. She's now in 2nd grade. She hasn't had one single year of what normal school that I experienced my whole childhood.
She doesn't know normal.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
And the kids that would be her age don't either. Yeah.
And it's these politicians, people say, well, that's what COVID did. No, it was teachers' unions. It was politicians that did this stuff. It wasn't COVID. It was teachers' unions. It was politicians.
Well, and lucky for her, I will say Southern Boone's done a really good job of trying to keep the kids in school, more than others. But it's not what I had as a child, and it's not there's so much more worry that then, that we worry and that they worry, and that the teachers worry that they internalize, right? And so you have realized that carefree thing of just showing up to school, going outside, hugging my friends, hugging my teacher, that's all out the window, right?
And hopefully, if I were to take the essence of what Joe was trying to say, and when he said there's hope for 2020 yesterday, when he said there's hope for 2020, I say there's hope for us, at least in Missouri. Legislative session starts today at noon, and I don't know why I'm clapping. I just get excited. Starts at noon today, and of course, we've been covering some of the bigger issues from various lawmakers this week been coming in. So here's kind of some of the things you can expect to hear in the news, things that might be affecting you in the next few days.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot this year that come up, and you both have hit on the issue of education. There's no doubt about that. That's huge. But I think, Branden and Stephanie, the biggest issues this month before education, while it will come up, they've got to get the congressional redistricting boundaries done. The deadline is approaching. And as you heard from Representative Basie on our program yesterday, he believes that proposed map, the Shaw map, will be tweaked. He thinks it will change. The other one that probably would even go higher than any of that is going to be the state employee proposed pay raise, and we'll have the governor on live tomorrow. That, the way the governor explained it to me, and I asked him to clarify, yeah, he said absolutely. He says that has to be done by February 1st. So I don't ever remember, maybe you do, Stephanie, I've never seen a governor propose a supplemental at the start of the session. He's going to propose that today or tomorrow, $91 million that would go straight into pay raises for state employees. And that is huge, and he wants that done. And that's one of the reasons the House will be working on Fridays. But that's going to be very, very big. We're talking about potentially a 7.5% increase because they're already getting 2. They got 2 on the first of the month, but this would be 5.5 on top of that.
Yeah, I think typically that comes with the State of the State, which is already scheduled for about mid-19th. Yeah, to late January.
But even so, that's much higher than what we've normally seen. Sometimes 1 or 2, but many years none, no raise.
Certainly.
So tomorrow we are going to be doing the show live from Jefferson City, the Governor's Prayer Breakfast, and I'm excited for the Zimmer Radio Group. I'm excited for 93.9, the Eagle. They could have invited anybody in radio stations from St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and they recognize the impact that 93.9, the Eagle, can have on a community. And so they said, Stephanie, Brian, why don't you guys come to the show? And by the way, talk to Governor Parson about 7:15. He's going to be joining us right here tomorrow morning, and then I'll be emceeing the breakfast. So if you get a chance, if you're there, please come by and say hello. One of the other big things, education, school choice. I got this for you, Steph.
Oh, good.
Since you got me, I got a little gift yesterday. I love this thing. I don't know what you call it. It's a smart touch thing. So, like, I don't have to touch door handles and stuff. And by the way, I was born this way. I was born white. God made me white, and God made me a germaphobe. Even prior to COVID, Hannah's got my back on this.
Yeah.
I've always been.
You've been like almost OCD about like washing your hands and like food in the break room you don't go near.
Birthday cake. Who the heck eats birthday cake after some snotty 4-year-old has blown? Here, you want a piece of cake? No, I'm good.
Yeah, that's on my list.
I'm good.
On my list of things I'm happy COVID killed is blowing on people's food before you eat it.
So I got this for you after you got this smart touch for me. This is Corey DeAngelis. He is the National Director of Research at School Choice Now.
Yeah, he's a great follow on Twitter.
Okay. He's saying on Fox yesterday, the money, okay, you want to do these policies, and this is kind of piggybacking on what Stephanie has been saying. All right, you want to shut the schools down? Let's keep some of these open. The money should follow not the schools. The money should follow the kids.
What they're saying is if your schools aren't going to reopen in person, well, let the funding follow the child to wherever they want to get an education, maybe a private school or a micro school. Doug Ducey just announced that with $7,000 being able to follow the child to the school of their choice. Wow. That's the only way out of this, to have the funding follow the student as opposed to the system.
Talking about Doug Ducey, of course, the governor of Arizona, and here's the reasoning. They're saying, listen, look at all the, we gave money to businesses and stuff. We give money to schools. Then this school, you stay open.
Yeah.
You close. So interesting idea that they're considering in Arizona. Another programming note. How often does this happen? How often do you turn on, whether it's a local TV station, whether it's ABC 17 or whether it's Fox or CNN or MSNBC, and see somebody on there interviewing a sitting judge? It doesn't happen a whole lot. It just doesn't. We have been able to coordinate with Judge Brooke Jacobs, presiding judge, 13th Circuit Court. He's going to be joining us 8 o'clock this morning. Just kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. I went to a Boone County bar meeting recently where he kind of gave like the state of the Boone County judiciary, and I really learned a lot about how the court has handled its business during COVID and how it compares to other counties.
It's pretty fascinating. He gave a presentation Hauswirth and I were at a couple weeks ago, and it's strangely fascinating. Here at 8:10 this morning, maybe you know somebody who typically doesn't listen to the Eagle. Say, yo, listen to the Eagle 8:10 this morning. We're going to be hanging out with Judge Jacobs this morning. And one of the things we're going to get to, this whole traffic jam thing on I-95 in Virginia has gotten really interesting for a couple of reasons. They know the cause now.
Racism.
It was racism. That's what caused that backup in Virginia. But Kamala Harris putting opening her mouth to change automotive repair shop. I have had a relationship with Gap's Automotive Repair Shop for, I want to say, about 60,000 miles now. Think about it that way. Not how long I've been going, how many miles I have in my car. 60,000 miles is the duration so far of my relationship with Gap's Automotive. And here's why I share this, because I think that you would find some of these same things. I am comfortable with them. This is coming from a guy, don't know a whole lot about cars. You could tell me something and I'd be like, okay, only $1,200? All right. And I because I don't know. I don't get that feeling from Gaps. And I'm not saying that kind of thing happens. Is what I'm talking about is I feel comfortable with Gaps Automotive. You should take your car there next time you need some repairs, what have you. Gaps Automotive Repair Shop. They're on Vandiver and Columbia. Also, they're in Booneville.
93.9 The Eagle. Watch the show on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
It would require enormous sanctions on Russia to deter what appears to be a very likely Russian invasion of Ukraine again.
That's Adam Schifferbrains talking about what might happen with Ukraine and Russia. USA poised to issue some sanctions. Maybe why a lot of folks saying, Joe, you got to be tough here. We saw what happened with China. We upset France and sanctions. What would those sanctions be? That gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
We are circling up with our European allies. There will be a series of meetings. Right now, I think today we're meeting with Germany, and they're saying because Germany has so much power in Europe, we're really watching what they're doing, and what's going to happen hinges on their participation and their stance. Notably, the German diplomat has basically struck a tougher tone on Russia, and so they, so those conversations are proceeding. But really, all eyes are kind of on that meeting and how Europe and the U.S. are going to position themselves against Russia at this point. And again, Germany is determined to act together to defend peaceful order in Europe.
So Russian troops been camped out at the border of Ukraine for a while. And that's kind of what's got everybody kind of on edge. Like, hey, man, what are you doing? Either get away or we're going to withhold PBR or American vodka or something. We're going to do, or we're going to send a strongly worded letter.
Strongly worded letter. Right now, we're just having a lot of meetings, including Biden was meeting with independent farmers and ranchers yesterday about inflation, basically about high prices in the agriculture industry. And he was basically looking at, I think he's blaming the farmers. He's looking at less competition. And so he said, he's looking at violations of this 1921 Packers and Stockyard Act, which ensures fair competition. And he's basically saying because we have so many big farmers and ranchers now, it's the reduced competition that's causing the higher prices. But, and so he's saying, I guess the top 4 companies control 85% of the beef market. But wasn't that the case last year? And the prices for beef were lower. So why he's blaming the farmers, I think we know who's to blame for inflation.
$20 for a chuck roast the other night. 3 or 4 pound chuck roast, usually paid $10 for. Coming up, Fox News is here. What's going on with COVID that could affect you nationwide? Then Brian Hauswirth is here, probably waking up tomorrow with some snow. How much he has that for you coming up at 6:31. 1,000 deadly car crashes in Missouri last year. We'll have that coming up for you, too, at 6:35. What happened? All these cars are safe and everything. What happened? We've got some counts from the Show Me State coming up here at 6:35 on 93.9 The Eagle. I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. Clouds 26 today. A little bit of snow moving in overnight and cold. Overnight low 9 tomorrow morning. Getting up maybe a couple inches of snow. High 14 right now. It's 21. Stop by Club Car Wash. Get an unlimited membership. It's unlimited. You go through as much as you want, man. It's like a traffic circle in Columbia. $20 a month. Get more details. ClubCarWash.com.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. With coronavirus cases up around the country, President Biden says he knows we aren't where we should be with testing, that free at-home test delivery will start this month, and that more test sites are available for people to find.
COVID test near me on Google to find the nearest site where you can get a test most often and free.
Public school is canceled in Chicago. Teachers vote to stay away and return to remote learning.
Union Vice President Stacey Davis Gates says teachers are worried about COVID.
50% of our high school students are vaccinated. Only 30% of our elementary school students are vaccinated.
Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez says
there's no widespread issues around safety in our schools.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot says the union is compelling its membership to harm hundreds of thousands of Chicago families who rely upon the district for their daily needs like education, nutrition, and safety.
Fox's Chris DeMeo. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31. 18 degrees right now in Columbia. It's 17 degrees in Jefferson City. We're expecting a very cold front to be moving into mid-Missouri a little bit later today. Cloudy with a high of 26. There is a chance of snow coming in tonight with a low near 9, and tomorrow it's going to be cold with a high of 14 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. Missouri's governor and many state lawmakers will be heading to Concord Baptist Church in Jefferson City here in a couple of hours for the legislative prayer breakfast. That breakfast will start at 9 this morning ahead of the noon start for the House and the Senate to start the 2022 session. Republicans control the governor's mansion in both chambers this year. They control the Senate 24-10, the House 110-49. 2 House Republicans will be resigning a little bit later today. That'll drop the number below the 2/3 majority in the House. It'll be 108 to 49. Speaking of the governor, state health officials say an average of more than 15,000 COVID vaccine doses have been administered each day during the past week. And while he opposes mandates, Governor Parson continues to urge and encourage Missourians to get vaccinated.
Every Missourian knows right now where to get a vaccine. They know what the vaccine does. And when you look at our state, we're at a little bit, I think, mid-90s right now for anyone 65 years and older. For people 18 years and older, we're at 72-73% that's taking the vaccine.
Governor Parson tells Capitol reporters the vaccine works. The State Department of Health and Senior Services says right now more than 1.1 million Missourians have received a third COVID vaccine dose. Columbia, Jefferson City, Boonville, Fulton, most of our listening area will be receiving snow tonight into Thursday morning. National Weather Service Pleasant Hill meteorologist Brett Williams tells 93.9 The Eagle that light snow is expected to begin falling between 7 and 8 tonight through about 9 tomorrow morning. 1 to 2 inches of snow expected. No ice in this storm. A Columbia man who was one of the first motorists to encounter Monday night's deadly crash on Highway 63 north of town describes it as the most horrific thing he has ever seen. The man tells 93.9 The Eagle he has never seen so much debris. He also praises the response of first responders. He says one child was ejected from the vehicle onto a highway. That would have been Highway 63. Another child ejected and ended up way off the road in tall grass, well off the highway. That head-on collision killed 4 people. It left 3 children with serious injuries. And state transportation officials are raising concerns this morning about the increasing number of Missouri traffic fatalities. More than 1,000 people killed in crashes across the state in 2021. First time it's happened since 2006. 2/3 of those killed were not wearing seatbelts. The MoDOT director with some strong language this morning, Patrick McKenna, calling it unacceptable, alarming, and preventable. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is brought to you this hour by Mid-America Mortgage. Check them out online, midamericamortgage.us, and apply now for a loan on your dream home. Our news time, 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. The Mizzou men's hoops game against Mississippi State tonight at Mizzou Arena has been postponed due to COVID issues within the Mizzou program. Makeup date has not been set as of yet. Right now, the Mizzou men's game against Alabama at Mizzou Arena in Columbia Saturday afternoon is still on. That would be a 2:30 tip. We'll keep you posted on that. Mizzou women's players, Haley Frank, Lauren Hansen, the SEC co-players of the week. And in hockey, the Blues taking on a traditional power, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Always tough to play them in Pittsburgh, PPG Paints Arena. And that puck will drop tonight at 6:30. Since it's out east, you'll hear the game tonight and see it on TNT. TNT was the network, by the way, that covered the Winter Classic the other night. Our sports brought to you this hour by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. Our news time, 6:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com. Find a job. Post your job opening today. Roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can call or give us a text. Our number is 573-874-9390. Again, that timing right now, it's going to be tweaked a little bit, sometime between 7 and 8. We've seen other models putting that number at around midnight, but I talked to Brett Williams, the Weather Service, so we're going to go with him 7 to 8 tonight. Could be a little bit later, though, but be prepared for that about when the snow will be starting tonight here in mid-Missouri. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle. really disappointing season Saturday. But yeah, I can check.
Hi, everybody. Mitch Holthus, voice of your Kansas City Chiefs. You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden, Rathert, 93.9, the Eagle.
You can hear the Chiefs and Broncos coming up this weekend. It's going to be a Saturday game. You can hear that on our sister station, KCMQ. It's going to be an afternoon game, 3:30, an important game for the Chiefs because here's what's at stake, some home field, potentially a bye. And you look at these other two teams. So right now it's Tennessee who's beaten us. So by virtue of tiebreaker right now, as it is, depending on what happens this weekend, they would get the Titans. They'd be top dog. And then the other thing that could happen, Cincinnati, who beat us last week, they're right below us. They could win. We could lose. Crazy. But an important game coming up this weekend.
It really is. And of course, I'm a Drew Lock fan, as are you. We enjoy him. I actually, my first radio job, Branden, was in Carrollton, Missouri, northwest Missouri, very rural, very poor. And I came up there to work right after actually during the flood of 1993. His family still lives. A lot of them live there. So I always, when I think of Drew Lock, I think of Carrollton. I mean, a lot of his family is still there. There is a website. I won't give the website, but it's, we've got our own stuff here in mid-Missouri for the Tigers, and they're generally positive, but not always, especially the people on them. I'm not talking about the moderator, but there is one that's kind of a Denver.
Hold up. You're saying people get onto social media and say nasty things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And here's exactly. And it could be sports, it could be politics, it could be the weather. But the headline in this is kind of a Denver Bronco, pretty popular website. The headline is this: Drew Lock cannot be the Denver Broncos starter in 2022. And this gentleman says, I love him, but many who hate him would call me a Lock stan. I can't imagine people would hate Drew Lock. I just can't. I can't. But I expect him to play Saturday, but I do not know his status for the game.
Probably one of the, even maybe not the, not the most gaudiest career stats at Mizzou, but people liked him. He was a good kid, didn't get in trouble. And by the way, he spent some time with us at some of our Tiger tailgates this year. There's pictures of Drew hanging out. And he was just coming. He wasn't like a paid appearance. He was just there hanging out with the folks from Zimmer. So the Chiefs, Broncos coming up this weekend. Welcome into the show. That, of course, Mr. Brian Hauswirth. I want to get into some traffic fatalities here this year. And also want to talk about what happened in Virginia because, traffic jam, but now it's turning into, again, our life. My big thing today, our life has now become a Saturday Night Live skit. And here's why. And I wanted to back off. I really did, because I don't like picking on this guy.
Come on.
I
Don't lie to yourself.
I feel bad for him. I do. There's that human aspect,
We have the medicines coming along that can save so many lives and dramatically reduce the impact that COVID has had on our country. There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
He said yesterday. So that's why our life has become a Saturday Night Live skit. And I'm going to offer up some more proof, Your Honor, ahead of Judge Brooke Jacobs' visit. Judge Brooke Jacobs hanging out with us at 8:10 this morning. So our life has become a Saturday Night Live skit. This thing, okay, so you get a big snowstorm, big traffic jam in Virginia. Wow, what happened? Well, it snowed. People were out on the roads, couldn't clear them. Okay, story's done. Nope. Kamala Harris gotten a hold of it. She's turned it into a Saturday Night Live skit. Do want to get into to that. So Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell is here.
Good morning.
So kids stoked yesterday, going back to school, Southern Boone County schools, and they're just like, wow.
Oh, yeah. It was like Christmas morning for my kids.
Really?
They love school. I came home and I said, how was school? And I got like 2 thumbs up, big smiles. So excited.
Who would have ever thought that we would see a day that kids would be excited to go to school, besides the first day of school? And the first day of school, I wasn't excited about school. I was excited about, hey, there's a new bevy of people that I could meet, and I've got new clothes. That's why I was excited. And then after that, the remaining 276 days out of the year, whatever.
My kids are nerds, so that's part of it. I think they really like
Where
school.
do they get that from?
I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know. But they are really excited to go back to school. And I think, too, they know the alternative from, stay-at-home time was school with mom, which they much prefer school at Southern Boone.
That Mrs. Bell, she's a real, what do they call her at work behind her back? Queen? Is that what we determined last week?
Wrong type of royal.
There is Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. If there is something that we can do for you, please let us know. 874-9390, 874-9390. I think the big story locally this morning that we're keeping track of, maybe some snow this time tomorrow morning when we get up. The other big story, obviously, legislative session getting underway today right about lunchtime. This guy's name is Josh Lederman. He's a reporter for NBC News. And he was stuck in this traffic jam on I-95 in Virginia, which, you know what I also thought was remarkable? You know who Fox News had on yesterday? Tim Kaine, Democrat. So Joe Biden can't create unity. A traffic jam, that creates unity. Fox News reaches out to a Democrat stuck in the... Will you come on to our conservative, truth-leaning network? The Democratic senator said, of course I will, in an effort to help people understand what is going on. So Joe Biden has created no unity. Traffic jam and Fox News creating unity. This is Josh Lederman, reporter. So now it gets political because it's somebody's fault, right? There's always somebody to blame for something. In a lot of cases, in other cases, there's nobody to blame. Except for the people who do the crap, i.e., January 6th. Josh Lederman, NBC News.
Some questions about it took hours for us to just even get updates on Twitter of
So first problem, relying on Twitter for something like that. In that situation, is what you do. You turn on your local radio station. I don't know what local radio is like there in Virginia along that stretch of I-95, but you tune into local radio. Relying on Twitter for something like that, apparently, at least in this case, it didn't bode well for those folks. And I don't know. And so Virginia Department of Transportation says, well, we couldn't clear the roads because it rained, and then that froze. We couldn't clear it, and then the snow. It's bizarre that many people were out there. I mean, like Saturday, Brian Hauswirth was here on 93.9 The Eagle all day long. Don't go out and drive. You don't have to. Don't go out. Don't go out. We didn't really have any major issues. Virginia, what a mess. The other thing that happened, Kamala Harris... Again, Hannah, I'm trying to make changes. I'm trying not to pick on Joe and Kamala.
How long have you been saying that, though, about Joe?
Since January 20th of 2021.
Since before then, even, I think.
I know. But when you make a concerted effort, you know what? The gaffes and stuff, I'm going to back off that stuff. And on
No, you're not.
And on January the 4th, Stephanie Bell and Hannah, the producer, give me a soft touch so I don't have to touch things because I'm a germaphobe. Joe says, here you go, Branden, and says there's hope for 2020. But Joe, it's total. He gave me a gift. I can't not open it, right?
You got to open it.
You got to open it. You got to play with it for a while.
I'm just saying, you might as well stop saying that you're going to stop making fun of him. Because you've been saying that for a very long time.
That's true. Kamala Harris, did you hear what Kamala Harris said after that? I think finally, it was like late last night. It's cleared. Traffic is moving. Kamala Harris says, America is open again. America is back on track. Huh. Yeah.
Did she follow that up with a nervous laugh, or?
I'm sure she did.
That's just insane. What are these people thinking? And it's things like that you go to somebody who's in the middle or maybe undecided. You go, you see that? This person, Kamala, she doesn't understand really any better than Joe does. And people are anxious for Joe to get out of office. Yeah, but let's wait until 2024. Let's not boot him out before then, because guess what? Guess who's waiting in the wings? And she's got on a mask and a chainsaw, and she's coming after the American ideology.
Even scarier, wouldn't that make Nancy Pelosi vice president? If that were to happen?
No more.
That's even worse.
coming out of the Highlands. He's like, yeah, we do a lot of work in there. Folks call us, and we go in and sneak out and get the job done. One of the things that's been interesting, though, they were doing a business the other day, had like an emergency or something, so they go in and fix it. They get rid of the stink. I don't know how else to put it. Got to make it as real and as honest as possible. And that's from John Martin at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. But there's pictures, and all these people are like, they're covered up. Remember that time the dog went to the bathroom here in the studio? I was talking like I had on a face mask because I was trying, because the smell was horrendous. Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, they get rid of the smell. That's just one of the things they do. Check them out. Go online. You're going to love having these guys on your side if you have lagoons, septic tanks, you're a business owner with grease traps. They will take care of all of that stuff for you. Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. Go to their website, pro-pumping.com. That's where you can get started.
Hey, it's Coach Gary Pinkel. I like to listen to Branden Rathert on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle.
Look, nobody is asking Merrick Garland to get up in his speech tomorrow and announce indictments against Donald Trump and his pals. I mean, Merrick Garland is the Attorney General. He's not Santa Claus.
That kicked me in the... That's how that comment strikes me. Look, Merrick Garland isn't Santa Claus. It's like he's saying he wants these gifts. He wants a gift of Trump. It's not a gift. If Trump said, hey, you guys go and storm the Capitol, go and do this, and I'll help you out, then they'll find that. That did not happen, incidentally. But they're trying to hold everybody else except, and they've been holding people responsible who've actually done some of the stuff. But to hold Trump responsible is ridiculous. But that gives you that mindset again that, hey, he's not Santa Claus.
Merrick Garland just doesn't grant everyone's wishes.
Wow. Tomorrow, incidentally, Trump was scheduled to give a speech tomorrow. I'm glad he's not doing it. It was a tacky move. And you can call me a fanboy of Trump. I have been. I thought it would have been tacky to give a speech tomorrow. Some of that stuff, just let it go. Move forward.
Well, yeah, and you think about where, the media has been on January 6th all last week. They're going to be on it, all next week, I'm sure. And, it's all a diversion from the absolute disaster of the Biden administration. It gives them something else to talk about, because otherwise they would have to talk about the real problems that Biden has and everything that Biden's done to our country. And I think if Trump gave that speech, that's where we would be. It would be nothing but Trump for the next 2 weeks. And it gives them some, again, they don't have to talk about inflation. They don't have to talk about Afghanistan. They don't have to talk about, they don't really have any priorities that have passed, so they don't have to talk about the lack of any sort of accomplishments in Congress, but they would just be able to focus on Trump. So yeah, I think him laying low, hopefully we can get the media back on what they really should be talking about.
It's interesting. We did this yesterday. You can really go to just about any news, national news source. AP right now pulled up top stories on AP. We were trapped. Trauma of January 6th lingers for lawmakers. Capitol riot suspect still sought by FBI. These are all the top stories on AP this morning.
Think about the fact that there are still people in Afghanistan hiding, stuck there. We left them there in real danger, surrounded by dangerous people, and we just left them. Think about what those people are going through. And now we have people in Congress saying, I had to hide under my desk from that weird guy with the horns. I mean, these are...
Dude in the coonskin hat. Remember him? I was scared of him. But to Joe's defense, they did offer us hope yesterday.
I mean, those people were wrong, and what they did was crazy and wrong. But, the focus is just so misplaced to have so much focus on that and not real focus on major issues that are affecting us today and that will continue to affect us going forward.
But he offered us hope yesterday as a nation.
There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
It was yesterday, so I have hope. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Columbia. A couple of things, and I do want to we'll run out of time, but I do want to get to this again with this Interstate 95 traffic jam. Kamala Harris, after they opened it up last night, she said, America's back again.
Because people in D.C. and in Virginia think that D.C. is America. They don't care about us.
It's funny because sometimes here when we meet listeners from Jefferson City or Keatsville or Fulton or California, you guys think you're the center of the universe there in Columbia. Maybe we might, but I don't think that. It's just...
I live in Ashland. I don't think Columbia is the center of the universe.
Stephanie, you live in Ashland? I've never known that before about you.
Big news for the city of Ashland last night, by the way, and this was something that's going to affect 4,000 residents here in Boone County.
Yeah, we so the city voted last night to hire a new city administrator. As many people know, we had part-time city administrator Tony St. Romain, who had previously worked in Columbia, but we got Mr. Kyle Michael joining the city government here in Ashland. He's a current city administrator up in Iowa, so he's got a lot of experience. A lot of really just good background, and I think this is a positive step forward. I think he's got exactly the right experience to kind of lead a growing community.
Something I failed to mention yesterday, we were talking about the Columbia City Council meeting last night. They honored John Glasscock, the outgoing city manager. I think he's done in the middle of the month. They got up and I think they gave him a shoe which is supposed to be indicative of the hard work.
Okay.
And because remember, John Glasscock, even before he became city manager, he, like, when Laura Nauser was here, she remembered being on city council, and, like, you know, John was this, I don't want to say young guy, but a younger guy working his way up through the ranks. He's garnered a lot of respect, I think, from the community and from city leaders there. So I do want to more than 1,000 people killed in Missouri traffic crashes in 2021. It strikes me as odd for a couple of reasons. We're trying to get more and more safety features, and I don't know if you've heard about some of these new anti-drunk driving safety features that are part of one of these packages that are coming on board, and also, that Interstate 95 traffic jam, because it's become political. Somebody said, well, it's racist because of the highway system. The interstate system in America is racist. Kamala says America's back because they plowed the roads there on I-95. I'm wondering, what about folks that were out there for some almost as long as 24 hours? What happened to folks that were in electric cars?
Good question.
I don't have the answer for that. I think it's
they're still out there.
They're still out there. Coming up, Fox News. What's going on with COVID that could affect you nationwide? They have that story coming up at 7. I'm Branden Rathert for Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call does it all. And I gotta tell you, man, I bet over the past 14 days here, Salter Lawn Service has had their toes in just about everything because they've been doing spring cleaning. They've been doing a little bit of snow removal. Getting rid of some ice. They're still out doing leaf removal because for the most part, we've had some good chunks of pretty nice weather. They've been even doing, like, some folks said, I'm going to let the grass grow this year, and I think we're done. Well, it stayed warm, and then it got really long and gnarly, and it's like, you know what? I need to take my lawn to the barber. I'm going to call Salter Lawn Service. There are still some folks that said, yeah, you know what? Maybe one more time, knock this thing down because it looks horrible. Those are just some of the things that they do at Salter Lawn Service. Besides doing those services, I think one of the best things is then, you know what? You don't have to worry about that. You get more free time with your family with Salter Lawn Service.
Kids are not getting up, getting ready for school in Chicago. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, because their teachers voted late last night not to go to school fearing COVID's surge.
The teachers union has a long list of safety demands, including increased testing, better masks, and clear metrics for when schools will transition to remote learning if there are any outbreaks. CTU's president said city leaders aren't doing enough to keep teachers safe.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. It's not clear what happens next. While teachers want remote learning, district leaders call this a work stoppage. Mayor Lori Lightfoot wants classrooms open.
What we're seeing in our engagement with parents is the overwhelming majority want their children in person.
Remote learning is back in many other communities like Atlanta and Detroit. There were another 869,000 new COVID cases reported in the U.S. yesterday, nearly 2 million in 2 days.
Be concerned about Omicron, but don't be alarmed. But if you're unvaccinated, you have some reason to be alarmed.
President Biden says he's also frustrated about testing shortages, but says more are being made available, telling people to just Google test sites near them. The CDC is reiterating its revised guidance, reducing quarantines. Fox's Evan Brown has an update live.
Yeah, Dave, last week the CDC announced that if you had tested positive for coronavirus, you could leave quarantine after 5 days if you were symptom-free. But that change in protocol prompted certain questions about follow-up testing. And now CDC says you would need to be fever-free for 24 hours without taking something to reduce that fever, and you should also take an at-home antigen test, the same test kit you can't find on store shelves now, but the administration says they're buying 500 million of to hand out to everyone, Dave.
Evan, for a third day in a row, an Iraqi military base housing American troops was targeted. A rocket hit but did no damage. No one was hurt. The 2 prior days, drones with explosives were shot down. North Korea has done it again, launching what Japan believes was a ballistic missile into the sea. Yet another testament of a nuclear standoff with the U.S. America's listening to Fox News.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Your historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit LoanDepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03. It is 17 degrees right now in Columbia, 16 degrees in Jefferson City. It's going to be chilly today, and that will continue into tonight with snow in the forecast for tonight. Snow in the forecast overnight through the morning as well. More on that in a moment. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. About 1 to 2 inches of light snow is expected to fall between tonight and tomorrow morning in much of mid-Missouri. That includes Columbia and Jefferson City. National Weather Service Pleasant Hill meteorologist Brett Williams says snow is expected to start between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight. That snow will taper off by about 9 tomorrow morning, but it's going to snow all night. The good news is it's all snow, no ice. Again, 1 to 2 inches expected. It can still disrupt travel. There is no ice in this. You're still being urged to be cautious on the road. Their heaviest snow band, if you will be along the Highway 50 corridor. That'll be in and east of Jefferson City. The northern part of the state will not get anything tomorrow. They might get a few flurries north of Mexico in the very far northern edge of our listening area. Missouri House Republicans plan to get to work immediately as they gavel in later today at noon to begin the 2022 legislative session. It's the 8th and the final year in the House for powerful Speaker Rob Vescovo of Arnold and also a couple of state representatives from the region. Chuck Basie of Rocheport, Travis Fitzwater of Holt Summit. Vescovo, Basie, and Fitzwater all in that class of 2014. The Speaker does not plan to deliver a speech today. More than 550 people, including Governor Parson and lawmakers in both parties, will be attending the governor's prayer breakfast at the Jefferson City Capitol Plaza Hotel. That is tomorrow. It's an interfaith event, and its purpose is to seek God's guidance for our political leaders as they start the session. 93.9 The Eagles, Branden Rathert will be the breakfast MC. There will also be a prayer breakfast today. This one is the legislative prayer breakfast. That's a big event as well. That'll start at 9 at the Concord Baptist Church. Missouri lawmakers will have to move quickly to approve new congressional boundaries and the maps for those because the filing for office starts February 22nd in Jefferson City. Rocheport Representative Chuck Basie serves on the Missouri House Special Committee on Redistricting.
We still have to go through the committee process, hear testimony. It's got to go through the committees. It's got to go through the House floor. Then it's got to go through the same thing on the Senate side. So I'm pretty sure that's going to change as we go forward.
Under the proposed congressional map that was released, Boone, Cooper, and Randolph counties here in mid-Missouri would stay in the 4th congressional district. That's the district currently represented by Vicky Hartzler. As for Fulton and Jefferson City, under the map that is being proposed right now, they would stay in the 3rd district, which is currently represented by Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. The governor still still supports the gas tax approved by lawmakers in 2021, and he says it was the right thing for Missouri to do. Legislation has been filed by Republican lawmakers in both chambers to repeal that gas tax. Governor Mike Parson addressing the issue recently with Capitol reporters.
I think there's been a lot of positive things behind that. So we'll see what the legislature do, but it's way too early, I think, to predict what the legislative actions are going to be or what the end game will be on that.
The 12-cent gas tax increase signed by the governor last year increases the gas tax by 2.5 cents a year for 5 years. It is Missouri's first gasoline tax increase in 25 years. A mid-Missouri man is dead after being killed in a one-vehicle crash on Columbia's Rock Quarry Road. It happened Monday night. CPD investigators say 24-year-old Caleb Wheeler of Columbia was driving southbound on Rock Quarry. His vehicle left the road, struck a tree, and overturned. He was not wearing a seatbelt, pronounced dead at the scene. Missouri State Troopers continue their investigation this morning into Monday night's deadly head-on crash on Highway 63 north of Columbia. That crash killing 4. It left 3 with serious injuries. The 3 who were seriously hurt were children. Highway Patrol says the crash happened when 19-year-old Keith Sumner of Roachport was traveling southbound in the northbound lanes of 63. He hit a second vehicle head-on. Sumner killed along with 3 others in the second vehicle, Christopher McLean, Jessica McKinley, and also a 10-year-old juvenile. And Missouri's transportation director says 2/3 of motorists killed in 2021 traffic crashes were not wearing a seatbelt. MoDOT Director Patrick McKenna has announced that 1,004 people were killed in crashes in Missouri last year. It's the first time since 2006 the number has surpassed 1,000. He describes the numbers as unacceptable, alarming, and preventable. He is also warning about the issue of people driving and talking and texting on their cell phones. There has been several bills that have been filed to deal with texting while driving. The biggest one is sponsored by a state representative from Montgomery County. His name is Jeff Porter, and he has a bill. There's a Democratic bill as well, basically the same bill. That bill sponsored by State Senator Greg Razor. He is from Kansas City. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you in the 7 o'clock hour by the Candy Factory. The Candy Factory takes care of your January birthdays with tasty treats and delicious handmade chocolates and candies from the Candy Factory. TheCandyFactoryOnline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The Blues are in Pittsburgh to battle the Penguins tonight at PPG Paints Arena. That puck will drop tonight at 6:30. You can see all the action on TNT. That's a very loud venue. Excellent team, too. The best teams, obviously, with records playing tonight. The Blues on the road and the Penguins. Mizzou Women's Hoops, Haley Frank, Lauren Hansen, SEC Co-Players of the Week after their great performance in beating number 1 South Carolina. Congratulations to Haley and Lauren for that. Our sports brought to you this hour by Club Car Wash. More details, clubcarwash.com. Find a location near you. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. All right, thanks so much, Kevin. Also, that wind speed right now about 11 miles an hour. It was 18 miles an hour earlier this morning. Right now, it is 17 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check with MidmoHires.com at 7:09. Local companies looking for local people. Roads right now pretty quiet on the roads in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
Ladies and gentlemen, now an important announcement from the President of the United States of America.
We have the medicines coming along that can save so many lives and dramatically reduce the impact that COVID has had on our country. There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
Welcome into Wake Up Columbia. Our life has officially become a Saturday Night Live skit. Can I get a big round of applause from everybody here on the interns and on the producer, Brian? Our life is a Saturday Night Live skit. Joe Biden yesterday saying, hey, there's hope. We got these meds, vaccines. Now we're vaccinating kids. We're doing all this stuff. So there's hope for 2020. Jeez.
You know, I think that ship's already sailed.
I want to. My hope, and I'm not kidding. I promise you this. I'm being very honest. My hope for 2022 is that Joe wouldn't commit as many gaffes, so that we wouldn't have to focus on that. But it is important to focus on, not to make fun of the guy. Something is wrong with him, and he didn't fix it over the holidays. Apparently, our life is also a Saturday Night Live skit because our vice president is no better.
Yeah, she, so, you know, they had a big snowstorm. Everyone's trapped on I-95. And once it kind of got cleared, she said, oh, America is moving again. One highway close to where she lives, right? Because America is, what, D.C.?
Oh, my God.
The rest of us have been moving for a while, Kamala.
Saturday night, that's a Saturday Night Live skit. This would also be a Saturday Night Live skit. I love the story from our news partners at ABC 17. The Audrain County Health Department, the state of Missouri, are warning about an imposter. We've heard this before. Somebody will go out and they'll try to pretend like they're police because typically they try to pull over women and whatever. So people will pretend or try to impersonate.
Happened here in town, actually.
Absolutely, and it happens a lot. Audrain County Health Department, the state of Missouri, warning about an imposter health inspector. That's a Saturday Night Live skit. I could absolutely see Pete Davidson on Saturday Night Live writing this whole skit about he's trying to pretend like he's a health inspector. It's bizarre. I don't understand this. And apparently in St. Louis area officials, they're warning about scams, illegitimate operations as COVID test sites pick up. Want to pass this along to City Council, St. Louis County Council last night. By a vote of 4-3, they approved a new mask mandate. I envision our Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, and Senate candidate for 2022, here wanting to replace Roy Blunt. I envision him, he's cooking breakfast this morning before he goes into the office. He's got the wife, and he's got the kids, and he's enjoying those very few moments of precious family time that he gets. He's a busy guy. He is the Attorney General for the state of Missouri. Mm-hmm. He is running for Senate. He is passionate. We've seen what Eric Schmidt has done has affected hundreds of thousands of people just here in mid-Missouri. He has affected anybody going to school this morning in the Columbia Public School District with kids that don't have, if they want to wear a mask, go ahead. It's okay. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to. It's because of Eric Schmidt. What Eric Schmidt has done has affected a lot of people here in Missouri. But I envision this morning right now, he's got some time with his family. He's cooking breakfast. And I envision like they do breakfast right as a family. They have the time to do it. They're getting up and they're doing eggs and dicing up peppers and onions and some ham and scrambled eggs. And Eric Schmidt, I'm envisioning right now, has a real fancy knife set that he cooks with, and he's sharpening them as he sees what has happened in St. Louis County. It came up in the board meeting last night in St. Louis County. Some of the members said, it's illegal. We can't have a masked man. Did you see that the attorney, the top law dog in the state of Missouri, did you see that? Well, it's open for interpretation.
I'm sure he is sharpening his knives. Props to all my friends in the AGO's office who probably stayed up very late last night, who are in front of the computer typing furiously. So thank you to that, and thank you to probably all of their staff who is also going to be working very hard today trying to get a lawsuit on file.
While we're talking about state stuff, tomorrow's going to be a big day here on the show.
Yes, we are going to be live from the governor's prayer breakfast. Brian and I are going to hijack the show while Branden is going to be emceeing the governor's prayer breakfast. We're really excited. It's just a great time to kick off session. The governor will be joining us on the show. We will also have a couple couple of other very special guests. And we hope that if you're planning to be there, we always parking around that it's going to be an issue. So, you can show up early. Our show is going to go live at 6. And so if you're around, if you get there to, park early, come say hi to us. We'll have lots of breaks and we'll be able to chat and take some photos. And
I agree with that. And Stephanie, we've great working with you, and Branden, we're proud of you. That's a real honor for you to be the
Stephanie
master of
did
ceremonies.
that. I didn't do that. Stephanie did that.
But still, it's wonderful. And the other thing about the governor is we'll have an opportunity to have a little bit more time with him in an interview like that to talk about issues. And he's always been good. Every time I've ever interviewed him, never any restrictions. He's always prepared to answer questions. And I've asked him before, and I will ask him again tomorrow, about the issue of seatbelts. And I've asked him about texting while driving. In fact, I just saw the governor in September, and he and I had about a 10-minute interview out at the Expo Center, the Holiday Inn Expo Center. And these numbers, Branden and Stephanie, these numbers, Patrick McKenna is, and you guys have talked to him many times, for him to call, his statement is really powerful this morning. If you read the comments from McKenna about these growing death numbers, they don't talk about motorcycles really in here. We don't know how many of these are motorcycles. Primarily, these are folks who were not wearing their seatbelts. So we'll certainly ask the governor about that. There have been seatbelt bills filed every year. I don't see one right now.
Didn't we pass a seatbelt law like back in the mid-'80s? I remember because I never wore a seatbelt. I just turned of driving age. You want to say it was late 80s we passed a seatbelt law?
We have. It's a great point. We have, and Stephanie, you're a lawyer, we don't have a it's a primary seatbelt law they're looking at. In other words, you can't pull someone over right now just for not wearing a seatbelt. Gotcha. It has to be for something else. And Bill Reibold filed that bill, Republican from Neosho, for years. But you're right, there is one on the books right now, but it is a secondary seatbelt law. So the supporters of it say it doesn't have any teeth.
The only reason I remember when that law passed, because I remember when the law passed, I don't know how old I was, 16, 17 years old. I'm like, can't stop this, dude. I'm a rebel. I had a Jeep, then 79 Jeep CJ7, jacked up, had a gold Mack Bulldog on the hood that bounced, had big tires and everything. The top was off, and I wore muscle shirts, and I had my my mullet going on, man, and I was always tan because I worked for the lawn maintenance company while I was going to Southeast Missouri State. I was badass in my mind. Yeah. And then one day I turned a corner and I hit the curb and almost bounced right out of the Jeep. Because I didn't have my seatbelt on, and that is when I started wearing my seatbelt.
Well, and you kind of see the tension here because we talked earlier about the thought that maybe we shouldn't have laws that where you can pull people over for non-moving violations. And so even now, if you upgraded that seatbelt law from a secondary to a primary, if you get a law that says, hey, we're not going to pull people over for moving violations, then it still wouldn't have any teeth.
Which is something David Tyson Smith is wanting to work on, one of our local reps. Here's what my take on it. If you want, go ahead, pass. It's window dressing. It's just one of those things I envision. It's just incredibly difficult to enforce stuff like that. It
is hard, but I think the idea of the MoDOT director and previous bill sponsors is that these numbers are. If you look at the crash reports, and I look at them every day, and we tend to do the stories when they impact our listening area. Almost every one of them, if you look at it says safety device. It almost always has an N next to it, not wearing a seatbelt.
Safety device, drinking, and driving. And I would bet, now here's the other thing, and I'd bet $1 million on this. A lot of these accidents are because of people texting and driving, but they have no way of knowing. I mean, you can timestamp a text if they get that far into the investigation. Right. I really believe that. I believe a lot of these accidents are caused by people texting and driving.
There's another bill to deal with that, too.
So later, by the way, Wake Up Columbia. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
You know what I'm really excited about today? Brian, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Judge Brooke Jacobs. Oh. It's interesting. Really think about this. How often do you get to see an act, like whether it's on TV or on radio, it's not too often that a sitting judge will sit and talk with local media, and I get it.
Yeah. You and I had a chance to listen to his presentation a couple of weeks ago. He addressed the pachyderms, and of course, it was more of an overview. He couldn't talk about specific cases, but the questions were just tremendous from the people there. I was very impressed with the quality of the questions. one poor elderly woman sitting behind me is being harassed right now by a man who is incarcerated, and he's slashed her tires. She had to go out and buy a bulletproof vest. I mean, she said that right there and obviously the judge was concerned, and he doesn't know about the case. We kind of gave her an idea what she needed to do and who to talk to. But the biggest thing that he said that grabbed my attention is the head of the circuit is that 95% of these cases generally get pleaded out. They're pleaded out. And yet, those numbers were staggering, by the way. And yet, we did just have, in the last month and a half, 2 of the biggest murder trials that we've ever seen that I can ever remember. Elledge, and then right behind him, Rennick, that did not plead, and both went to trial.
So if you know somebody that maybe typically doesn't listen to 93.9 The Eagle and Wake Up Columbia with Hannah, the producer, and Brian and Stephanie and myself, tell them, hey, man, check it out, something different. But he's going to hang out with us for looking forward to that coming up at 8:10. Also, coming up 7:35, something really cool about Brian Hauswirth. This thing busts nationwide, and it has to do with Brian Hauswirth to an extent. We're going to get into that at 7:35. One of the other things we want to do at 7:35. Remember the former Marine? I shouldn't say former.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always Marine. Retired Marine, or actually wasn't even retired. He was kicked out, wasn't he? The Marine who was discharged because he criticized the Afghanistan exit, and rightly so. He's back in the news. He had something to say about his comments, and I thought it was pretty interesting because there's that element of a human being like, yeah, I meant what I said. But there's kind of a big but there. We're also going to get into that coming up at 7:35. And one more thing to prove that our life has turned more and more into a Saturday night live skit, which is kind of the theme of the show here today. So we've talked about, here's things that people are blaming the I-95 crisis on in Virginia. But Kamala Harris says, America's back. That highway's open. That's a tweet. It's a real tweet. America's back. We are ready. We are good. People are blaming racism because the interstate system is racist. Climate change because it snowed. And another interesting thing that they are blaming. This one, to me, this blew my mind. I'm like, no, come on. Is this from the Babylon Bee or something?
I've got a birth story that lasts 2 years.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
He was also a confident advisor, campaigner for the former president.
He was campaigner. That's Adam Schifferbrains. Who's he talking about? He's talking about one of our hosts here on 93.9 The Eagle. They're going to call this dude, going to attempt to get this dude onto Capitol Hill to testify. He hosts a show here on 93.9 The Eagle. Who's Adam Schifferbrains talking about? We're going to have that coming up at 7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Computer crashed. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yep. Locked up. 7:25-ish. Time for What's Hot with Hannah. And it's not 7:25.
No, it's 7:28. You were killing it this morning.
On it.
It's because you made fun of President Biden.
To foul things up, to err is human. To really screw things up requires computer.
Yes. So we're going to talk about sweet little babies, specifically a set of twins that was born in California. And they were born in 2 different years because twin A, her name was Aylin, was born at 11:45 p.m. and her brother Alfredo was born at exactly midnight on January 1st of 2022.
Aww.
So they have different birthdays in different years. And the hospital staff at this hospital in California said that that's like a 1 in a million chance of happening.
How cool is that? Very interesting. That's why I love What's Hot with Hannah. We do it right about this time every morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. More proof. Life is a Saturday Night Live skit. So the I-95 jam, Virginia, it's cleared up now. Kamala saying at a tweet, America is back. That's true. So they're blaming racism because the interstate system was racist. They're blaming climate change because, it snowed. And they're blaming Glenn Youngkin. The problem with blaming Glenn Youngkin, he's not the governor yet. I swear to God, man. People are coming after Glenn. Well, see, this is what happened. We elected Youngkin governor, and look at this. It snows, and there's a traffic jam. True stories. Fox News is here. What's going on with COVID nationwide that could affect you? What unions are doing to show their true colors when it comes to our kids. They have those stories. Probably waking up to some snow tomorrow. How much? Ryan Hauswirth has that coming up here at 7:31. ABC 17 storm track forecast up to 26 today. And then tomorrow morning, maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow when you wake up. Tomorrow's high of 14. Weather is brought to you by Club Car Wash. Unlimited memberships, only $20 a month.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Security's high in Washington, D.C. ahead of tomorrow's Capitol riot anniversary. Former President Trump cancels his event tomorrow and again complains about the House committee investigating the riot.
A post on former President Trump's website says, in light of the total bias and dishonesty of the January 6th Unselect Committee of Democrats, 2 failed Republicans, and the fake news media, I am canceling the January 6th press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He said he'll talk about it at a rally in Arizona January 15th.
Fox's Jill Nato. Chicago teachers vote to teach remotely, concerned about coronavirus safety.
The teachers union has a long list of safety demands, including increased testing, better masks, and clear metrics for when schools will transition to remote learning if there are any outbreaks. Some Chicago parents are feeling frustrated that the teachers union isn't following the science and putting the well-being of students first.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. America's listening to Fox.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. We have snow in the forecast, and it's also going to get much colder throughout the listening area. We've got snow on the way. Let's get you up to date on that, and then we've got some breaking news for you here in a moment, folks. We've got a lot of things going on right now. Let me pull up the temperature here. My computer running just a tad slow.
17.
It's 17. Thank you, Branden. 17 degrees here in Columbia. It's 16 degrees in Jefferson City, and that snow is on the way. We'll talk more about the snow in a moment. We got some breaking news here, and I just got off the phone with Joint Communications. We've got a serious collision and accident right now at Paris in Waco Road. I just got off the phone with Joint Communications. It is a multi-vehicle collision, Paris and Waco Road. Those of you who have the 93.9 The Eagle text alerts, I've just sent out the text alert on that, and no other details from Joint Communications other that there are injuries. I'm told there are injuries. Avoid that area. I was told that is near the 3M factory near Paris and Waco Road. If you're in that area and have some more information, certainly give us a call. Branden might have a little bit more here. He is on the phone right now working this as well. But again, Paris and Waco Road, avoid that area if at all possible, a multi-vehicle collision. Meantime, Columbia, Jefferson City, Boonville, most of the listening area will be receiving some snow tonight into Thursday morning. National Weather Service Pleasant Hill meteorologist Brett Williams tells 93.9 The Eagle that light snow is expected to begin falling between 7 and 8 tonight through about 9 tomorrow morning. 1 to 2 inches of snow is expected in the forecast, again starting at about 7 tonight through about 9 tomorrow. The National Weather Service is asking you as well to dress in layers. The wind chill in mid-Missouri will be -3 overnight. Missouri's governor and many state lawmakers will be heading here to the Concord Baptist Church in Jefferson City in less than 90 minutes for the legislative prayer breakfast. It's an annual breakfast that starts at 9 ahead of today's noon start for both the House and the Senate to start the 2022 session. Republicans control the governor's mansion, both chambers this year. They control the Senate 24-10 and the House 110-49. The Republican governor still supports the gas tax approved by lawmakers in 2021. He says it was the right thing for Missouri to do. Legislation has been filed by Republican lawmakers in both chambers to repeal that gas tax. Governor Parson addressing the issue recently with Capitol Reporters.
I think there's been a lot of positive things behind that. So we'll see what the legislature do, but it's way too early, I think, to predict what the legislative actions are going to be or what the end game will be on that.
12-cent gas tax increase signed by the governor last year increases the state's gas tax by 2.5 cents a year for 5 years. It is Missouri's first gas tax increase in 25 years. A Columbia man who was one of the first motorists to encounter Monday night's deadly crash on 63 north of town describes it as the most horrific thing he has ever seen. The man tells 93.9 The Eagle he has never seen so much debris. He especially praises the quick response of first responders. He says Boone County deputies were first on scene, praises them, the highway patrol, the firefighters from Boone County Fire as well. He assisted the man, tells me one child who was ejected from the vehicle landed on the highway. Says another child was ejected and ended up well off the road in the tall grass well off the highway. That head-on collision killing 4 people. It left 3 children with serious injuries. And state transportation officials raising concerns today about the increasing number of Missouri traffic fatalities. More than 1,000 people killed in traffic crashes across the state in 2021. First time it's happened since 2006. MoDOT Director Patrick McKenna describes the fatalities as unacceptable, alarming. He also uses the word preventable, saying 2/3 of the vehicle occupants killed weren't wearing their seatbelts. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour live by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now, 573-445-5300, WillettDentalAssociates.com. Our news time, 7:35. Turning our attention now to sports. Blues in action tonight. They're on the road. PPG Paints Arena. They'll take on Pittsburgh. The Penguins, the opponent. Tonight's game, puck will drop at 6:30. You can see it on TNT. Also, Mizzou men's game. Obviously, we've talked about that for those of you hoping to go tonight. That game has been postponed against Mississippi State until a later date. They will honor those tickets if they can reschedule it. They're working with the school, which is in Starkville. That school's in Starkville, Mississippi, but we don't have a makeup date as of yet. As of right now, Mizzou men's still scheduled to take on Alabama on Saturday afternoon. Our sports is also brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. Our news time, 7:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. It is 7:35 right now. Again, Joint Communications telling me that Paris and Waco Road, that we have a multi-vehicle collision near the 3M plant. You're being urged to avoid that area. I'm told by the dispatcher there are injuries, but no other details are available. I do believe that road is blocked right now based on the information that we are receiving. But if you're out in that area, have some more information, you can let us know. And our number is 874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
He was more than a Fox host. He was also a confident advisor, campaigner for the former president. And I would hope that if he's asked by the committee, as I expect he will be very soon, that he would cooperate with us.
Adam Schifferbrain saying one of 93.9, the Eagles radio show host, needs to go to Washington, D.C. because he was friends with the president. And talk about what happened on January 6th. Sean Hannity. I was doing the radio show on January 6th, and then right after that, I was doing my TV show. I wonder if Sean's going to cover this today. He's here today, 3 o'clock, 93.9, excuse me, 2 o'clock, 93.9, the Eagle. So you see, they're not going after, because it's Trump's fault that happened. He is responsible. By the way, all that bad stuff that I did before I quit drinking, Stephanie, you're responsible. Hannah,
I didn't even know you then.
Doesn't matter. You're responsible. Hannah, all that bad stuff I did, you are not me. It's not me. It was you and Jack and Jim and Crown and Logboat Snapper. Lots of Logboat Snapper. Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer, Stephanie Bell. My name is Branden Rathert. It started over the weekends, the coverage of January 6th. Oh, my God, it's Trump's fault. So now they want Sean Hannity. They want a radio talk show host, Trump's friend, confidant, campaigner. Want him. So they're going after not just Trump and those. So now they're trying to go after people. They're trying to silence the media, in effect. I mean, this is kind of a backhanded way of saying we will penalize the media. That is what they're doing. That scares me as somebody who makes a living and enjoys doing this. That's frightening when the media gets silenced, whether you're reaching out to a school board member and they won't talk to you, whether they're saying, hey, you're friends with this guy, we're going to try to call you to D.C. That's dark. And I know people say, oh, we're going back to Orwellian things, and it's been fun to say for a while. There's an example, I think. They're going after the media now because they pee their pants every day because Trump was president. We got to get him for something. I know he didn't go and do that stuff. So I feel a lot better because I'm not responsible for any of that stuff I've done. Hannah, Stephanie, I want to thank you guys for bearing the brunt. By the way, you should be watching YouTube Live right now because what Hannah just did is epic. I want to get to this accident. We've got listeners sending us text. If you happen to be in this area, please call us. Now, I do have some video. Brian's going to give us the details here as he continues to work through this, but we have some video. What's going on right now? Because looking at the video, this is pretty nasty.
Yeah, and I haven't. I'm just looking. Oh goodness! Wow, I'm looking at the video there. Do you know when that was taken? By the way,
if you'll tell me where it is, I'll kind of give the play-by-play on what we're seeing. Here we go.
I was in the newsroom typing up just a brief update about the weather, like 7:25. This happened right before the 7:30 newscast, and the scanner went just very, very heavy traffic. I could tell a lot of people were calling in 911 probably. Got a hold of the dispatcher. The accident and the crash, if you will, multi-vehicle crash, I'm told, more than one car. It's at Paris in Waco Road. I'm told it is near the 3M plant. And again, it's a little hard for me to see the video from where I am, but it is a multi-vehicle crash. There are injuries. According to the dispatcher, the extent of those injuries, though, are unknown. And I know they were very busy, but gracious enough to take my call. So that's what we know right now. Injuries, and just if people are in that area, they need to avoid it or maybe turn around. And if you don't have to go through there, don't. But based on your video, it looks like one of those vehicles might be on fire.
Yeah, so this is kind of in the area, the FedEx warehouse, 3M. As a matter of fact, we've tried reaching out to some folks at 3M to see if anybody's got some eyeballs on this so we can inform the public of what is happening here. But it's like 3M, FedEx. So the video that somebody has sent us driving through, there's a car fire. The front end of the car is pretty mashed up. Hope everybody is okay. Our frontline responders, our heroes, they are on scene. And then after that, and here's kind of there's a debris field. And I can't tell how long, and I'm not going to try to estimate here on the radio, but in the video. And then there's several different fires on the road in this debris field and off to the side of the road, and the debris field stretches quite some time. So seriously, if you're in that area, we're trying to let the rest of the folks around here know what's going on. 874-9390.
We just got a call from Steve, who is in the area, and he says that he doesn't even think he can turn into the 3M parking lot where he works right now because there are so many emergency vehicles on the scene.
Yeah, and that's good information there. I did send out a text alert right before the newscast, and we don't have again, we have to go with the official information. I do know we're going to go officially with what the authorities told me at Joint-Com, and that is there are injuries. But boy, that video is I can't tell if that's 2 or 3 cars there. I just can't tell. But certainly multi-vehicle is what I was told. Multi-vehicle.
From what I can tell from this piece of video, it looks to be just one. But that's why I'm asking for help. 874-9390. 874-9390. So we're going to keep on top of that. And it's interesting because of the story out of Virginia, I-95 has become a political thing now. What happened? Some people are saying racism. Some people are blaming it on Glenn Youngkin. There's a problem with blaming weather and, lack of communication on the part of the Department of Transportation. There is a problem with blaming that stuff on Glenn Youngkin. They've blamed it on racism because the interstate system is racist. They've blamed it on climate change because, it snowed. Climate change. So they're blaming it on all kinds of stuff, and they're blaming it on Glenn Youngkin, of course, who won that election, this shocking win in that election last year. But there's a problem with blaming.
Yeah, he's not the governor yet.
There are politicians. This shows you how stupid some people are. Not only is Kamala Harris stupid and said, America's back. That was her tweet when they opened up I-95, this big thing, America's back. Is she drunk tweeting? Because that's the kind of, really. That's, like, she's had some Bartles and James wine coolers. She's had about 2 of them, and she's hammered, right? Hammered. She's had 2, 1.5. She's not even finished the second one. She's gone on her fuzzy slippers. She's hammered. I'm going to tweet, America's back, because that stretch of I-95 is open.
What's scary is she's probably sober, and she actually she can't even blame it on the fact that she was drunk tweeting. She actually believes that D.C. is America, and that all of the important people were trapped in this ice storm or whatever, and now America's back because all of the D.C. elites are free from the traffic jam.
And that's America. It's just D.C.
Right.
It's not us here in the heartland of America, which is going to decide who the next president is.
Hey, Kamala, we've been back for a while, just in case you were wondering.
Yeah. So there you go. Put the Bartles and James wine coolers down. Would you? Tomorrow, we're going to be doing the show live. Well, Brian and Stephanie are going to be doing the show live. Governor Mike Parson is going to be joining us 7:15 here on the show. We're doing the show live from the annual prayer breakfast. So we're excited about that. And then coming up about 30 minutes from now, we're going to be hanging out with Judge Brooke Jacobs. He's going to be hanging out with us here on the show, and I'm excited about that. I've heard him talk a couple of times. It's something we've been working on for several months, this goes back as far as last year.
Yeah. And congratulations to get him. That is very hard. It's hard to get a sitting judge, and obviously they can't talk about, under the canon of ethics, very specific things. But I sat through a 2-week trial. I was there every day, and he presided over, and I know he can't talk about the case itself, but he presided over the Joseph Elledge murder trial, and that was just absolutely... and of course, the Rennick trial right after it got as much media coverage, but just a ton of media, national media there as well for Joseph Elledge. And Elledge is scheduled, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. They have to watch that. But Elledge is scheduled to be sentenced by Judge Jacobs on Friday.
All right, big story right now that rack out there on Route B, and that's kind of in between 3M and FedEx. It's a pretty nasty accident. Yep. There's a debris field. There's a couple of small fires we were looking at earlier. And also want to mention this. Big kudos. Friday night, Hauswirth. He's already national. He's like one of the voices of Alabama football. Yeah. There's a cool thing coming up on Friday. I want you to I don't want to say brag on yourself, but tell us what's going on.
Yeah, there is a story that, and it would have gotten more coverage at the time. This murder happened back in 2018, about the time Governor Greitens was under indictment, an indictment that was later dropped by Kim Gardner. So that was what the media really was focused on, including myself. We were focused on the Capitol. This murder happened in April of 2018. Little town called Middle Grove, if people know where that is. It's near, literally, it's up in the middle, almost nowhere. I used to go do a lot of football and have to drive through there. It's near the Moberly area. James Addy was a corrections officer. Actually, he was a corrections, I believe a sergeant. He was high up at DOC at the Moberly prison. And he was married, lived in Mexico, Missouri, and he was also at the same time engaged to a young lady named Molly Watson. Ms. Watson was found dead. She was shot to death execution style. It was horrible murder in a rural road in Monroe County, right off of a rural highway near a water crossing. And this case obviously got a tremendous amount of attention. ABC's 2020 has been working on it for about a year. They came to Columbia. They interviewed me on camera. They interviewed two reporters at Channel 17, Chanel Porter and Lucas Geisler, on camera. And that will air on Friday night. ABC's 2020 is going to do a 2-hour special. I noticed they did the trailer. My voice is in that trailer where I talk about the murder taking place execution style.
Send us the trailer so we can play it.
I'll email it to you. I have it. It's really well done. The production team was absolutely, Branden, a horrible case, but they did a great job. I was interviewed at a I guess I can say it now, an art gallery is where they picked to do this interview because it was downtown back in September, and I was dealing with vertigo that day. I was having a really tough time with my vertigo. That production team was so understanding and so patient with me. The gentleman that was the lead producer, his wife had vertigo. So I had to stop a couple times and basically clear my head.
So you're in it. There's your voice, your video, Friday night, what time on? And this is on ABC 17.
2020. It will air from 8 to 10. I'll be they're one of many, many interviews. But yes.
But you'll be in it.
They
Very
actually,
cool.
yes. And the last thing I'd point out, they actually tracked down the eyewitness who discovered the body and came upon whoever the murderer was. Addie says it was someone else. Whoever the murderer was, this gentleman they tracked down, McSparron, they tracked him down. It's going to be a really good piece. 8 to 10, and I'll send you the trailer.
It's Friday night. We were talking about the Marine who was discharged. Remember Stuart Scheller? He was the guy who went out and said, man, this is crazy. Our leadership, what you did in Afghanistan, kicked out. He's speaking out. He's talking about those comments that he made. What did he have to say? That's coming up at 7:54 here on 93.9 The Eagle.
What would you think if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
I want to say this very strongly. I have been fighting for 17 years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
Remember that guy saying, Joe, and the rest of you leaders, man, you killed these Americans trying to pull out of Afghanistan. This is one of the worst things we've ever seen. I know I'm enlisted, but I can't stand it. I got to say this after he'd been in the service for quite some time. He's speaking out about those comments now. He was discharged, but the former Marine Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, he's not former, is it? That's what the news story. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Right.
But he was discharged. They booted him. He was discharged after blasting top military press for the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. He says he has one big regret. His regret, I wished I hadn't been so wrought with emotion. He says, I would have toned down the inciting language so people would have focused more on the message.
Yeah, but I mean, it was an emotional week. I remember the emotion that, I was experiencing just watching it going on. I can't imagine being in the military and actually witnessing it firsthand. I mean, I felt very overcome with emotion that week. It felt very, it was scary and it just felt sad. And, I can't imagine being that close to it. And, we heard from military members who were here who said they were overcome with emotion over the whole thing. And so, I'm sure reflecting back now, but it would have been hard to be there and in the moment and not been overcome with emotion.
Applaud him for sticking to his gun. So he's saying, yeah, I was kind of filled with emotion. You know how sometimes you get mad or you're really passionate about something and you say, I got to say this right now. And it's like the email, angry email. Go ahead and type it. Maybe wait.
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts to stand up and say, you know what, I could have done that differently.
I applaud him. Fox News covered up COVID and how it might affect you nationwide. That's at 8 o'clock. Judge Brooke Jacobs is here at 8:10.
Classrooms are dark and empty in another city. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Because teachers in Chicago refused to go to school today, wanting to bring screen school back, upsetting Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
We can't forget about how disruptive that remote process is to individual parents who have to work who can't afford the luxury of staying home.
Fox's Jeff Manasso has more live.
Dave, there's no school for hundreds of thousands of students in Chicago following a late-night vote by the teachers union to refuse in-person learning over COVID concerns and a lack of testing.
Children, they're bringing it home and they're infecting their families, and this could absolutely be avoided with remote learning.
Don't keep using us as sacrificial lambs.
The city says schools are safe, rejecting a return to remote instruction, saying it was disastrous for children's learning and mental health. The union, Dave, also says that the district has now locked teachers out of their computers at home.
Jeff, we've had nearly 2 million COVID cases reported in the U.S. the past 2 days.
If you're vaccinated and boosted, you are highly protected.
But President Biden says those who haven't gotten the shots should be alarmed. And while he says he's frustrated too by test shortages, more are coming. There's a hearing this morning at the Senate into Capitol Police, with the chief set to testify the day before we mark 1 year since the U.S. Capitol riot when Trump supporters stormed in, temporarily halting the Biden election certification. The president will speak at the Capitol tomorrow denouncing what happened. The former president has decided to stay quiet in Florida.
A post on former President Trump's website says, in light of the total bias and dishonesty of the January 6th Unselect Committee of Democrats, 2 failed Republicans, and the fake news media, I am canceling the January 6th press conference at Mar-a-Lago.
That's Fox's Jill Nato. The president plans to speak out later in the month. Former President Trump, that is. America's listening to Fox News.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Your historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We're expecting snow in the forecast for tonight into tomorrow morning, and we're expecting about 1 to 2 inches right now. 17 here in Columbia. It is 15 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth. We begin this hour with that breaking news. Joint Communications in Boone County. Dispatchers saying now that Paris Road is closed in both directions at Waco near 3M due to the multi-vehicle collision. This involves at least one vehicle right now on fire. A dispatcher telling me that there are injuries and you're being urged to avoid that area. Our producer Hannah also reporting this morning that the exit to 63 and Route B is also closed at this time. Not a lot of details on that. We're also hearing there may be some power outages in that area. Bottom line, avoid the area if at all possible. This is near 3M, the Waco Road area and Paris Road that's closed right now in both directions. Again, there are injuries. A dispatcher tells me no other details are available. At least 2 vehicles involved in that crash. You're saying officially multi-vehicle collision. And thank you for all the calls and texts as well. Meantime, 1 to 2 inches of light snow expected to fall between tonight and tomorrow morning in much of mid-Missouri. That includes Columbia and Jefferson City. National Weather Service meteorologist Brett Williams says snow is expected to begin at about 7 o'clock tonight. It'll taper off by about 9 tomorrow morning. You're being urged to be cautious on the road. The good news is it's all snow, no ice. Again, 1 to 2 inches. House Republicans in Jefferson City will get to work immediately here in about 4 hours as they gavel in at noon to begin the 2022 session. This is the 8th and the final year in the House for the Speaker, Rob Vescovo of Arnold, and State Representatives Chuck Basie of Rocheport and Travis Fitzwater of Holt Summit. Now, there are 2 prayer breakfasts. One is today, one is tomorrow. Today is the legislative prayer breakfast. prayer breakfast, if you will. That's at the Concord Baptist Church. Starts here in 55 minutes. The big one, though, is tomorrow. That's the Governor's Prayer Breakfast, Capitol Plaza Hotel. It's an interfaith event, and its purpose is to seek God's guidance for our political leaders in both parties as they begin the session. 93.9 The Eagles' Branden Rathert will be the master of ceremonies at the breakfast tomorrow. Missouri lawmakers will have to move quickly to approve new congressional boundary maps. Filing for office starts February 22nd. Rocheport Representative Chuck Basie serves on the Missouri House Special Committee on redistricting.
We still have to go through the committee process, hear testimony. It's got to go through the committees. It's got to go through the House floor. Then it's got to go through the same thing on the Senate side. So I'm pretty sure that's going to change as we go forward.
Under the proposed congressional map that has been released, Boone, Cooper, Randolph counties would stay in the 4th Congressional District. Howard County would be in the 4th Congressional District as well. Montauk as well. Jefferson City and Fulton, Cole-Calloway counties would stay in the 3rd District. That is represented by Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. A mid-Missouri man is dead after being killed in a one-vehicle crash on Columbia's Rock Quarry Road. Authorities tell us 24-year-old Caleb Wheeler of Columbia was driving southbound on Rock Quarry. His vehicle left the road, struck a tree, and overturned. And Columbia City staff members touting a successful completion of a number of key projects in fiscal year 2021. They include the major Nifong project and the $9 million runway extension at COU. I have a detailed breakdown of some of these projects on our website. That website is 939theeagle.com. Our news time is 8:05. And turning our attention now to sports here on 93.9 The Eagle. It is 8:06 and 939theeagle.com. Mizzou women's players Haley Frank, Lauren Hansen, SEC Co-Players of the Week. Hockey, the Blues in Pittsburgh. They'll battle the Penguins tonight. Puck will drop our time at 6:30. You'll see the game on TNT. Our sports is brought to you by Woods Basement Systems, the most reviewed contractor for all things with your basement. Free estimate, 800-388-9326. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. All right, Kevin, thank you. And our weather is brought to you on this Wednesday morning by Club Car Wash, clubcarwash.com. Find a location near you. 17 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is with midmohires.com. It's 8:08 on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Again, if you're listening to us in the northern edge of our listening area right here in Columbia, Harris Road is closed, folks, in both directions at Waco near the 3M plant. We got a multi-vehicle collision, at least one vehicle right now on fire. There are injuries, and the exit to 63 is now blocked or actually closed, so avoid that area if at all possible. No word on the extent of injuries. The dispatcher's too busy to give us more information. We certainly understand that. We'll get an update when we can, but the bottom line right now, avoid the area if at all possible. Also, I want to remind everyone, Judge Brooke Jacobs will join us live here in studio in a few moments on Wake Up Columbia. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Ladies and gentlemen, now an important announcement from the President of the United States of America.
We have the medicines coming along that can save so many lives and dramatically reduce the impact that COVID has had on our country. There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
A lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020, said the president yesterday, and wanted to start New Year. Hey, listen, I make a lot of mistakes, too. I make a lot of gaffes. I do it all the time. Didn't want to go after him for that, but When they give you a birthday present like that, you gotta open it up. Life has become a Saturday Night Live skit. That's I'm gonna make my case to the judge. We won't do that. Judge Brock Jacobs joining us shortly. But Life is a Saturday Night Live skit because of that. And then Kamala, she gets into an SNL skit too.
Yeah, regarding I-95 and the traffic jam, once it was kind of moving again, she said America is moving again because, of course, in her mind, America is only D.C.
We unclogged a section of highway on the eastern seaboard. America's back. Also, Life is an SNL skit because in Audrain County, they're warning residents, be careful. Somebody has been going around and they're trying to pretend like they're a health inspector.
What's the point of that? What do you gain from pretending to be a health inspector?
No, I get it. Like people, we've seen this happen before. People try to go out and pretend like they're law enforcement, and they do it because there's dark underpinnings of what they want to do. But somebody trying to...
Maybe it's business espionage. I heard like when Netflix and Amazon were really, they used to send people into the Netflix plants to try to see what was going on. So
crazy. Life is an SNL skit. Welcome into the show. Keeping you updated. Latest real quick, because I do want to chat with Judge Jacobs. Has been kind enough to come hang out with us for a while here on the show. Super excited about that. Quick latest on this accident on Route B in between kind of like 3M and FedEx.
Yeah, it really is. It's near the 3M plant, not far from FedEx as well, Branden. And I've talked to the dispatcher and obviously listening in on scanner traffic as well, which we can't go with, but it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. But officially what we have is that both directions are closed right now on Paris Road at Waco near the 3M. We've got a multi-vehicle collision. There are injuries, according to the dispatcher. You're being urged to avoid the area. Now, Hannah has also received several calls from listeners saying the exit to 63 is closed down right now. I do believe that is temporary. Waiting to hear back from them on that, but we know that's the case because we've had several calls. So just avoid the area if at all possible. You have the video and at least one vehicle on fire in a kind of a debris field, it appears. That's I don't know any other way to say it, but it looks to me like at least two vehicles based on that video. But and they confirmed for me on the record multi-vehicles.
Frightful thing just from the video that listeners have sent us. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Columbia. Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. Joining us on the show now, Judge Brock Jacobs. He was appointed to the court 2017. I remember when that happened. And then was elected to a full term in 2018. And then he was chosen. Now, is this, because I know how this goes at work sometimes, like, hey, we need somebody to lead up this committee or be the head of this. And they make you do it. It's not that you really want to do it, but your colleagues voted you to be the presiding judge for the 13th Circuit Court in 2021. How cool was that? Because that's your colleagues. It's not somebody else saying, hey, it's your coworkers. And I think, man, when you have respect and admiration from your coworkers, it's great to have it from the bosses, but from your coworkers says a lot. What was that like for you when they said, hey, we're going to have Brooke do this?
Yeah, it was an honor to be chosen by my colleagues to be presiding judge. But like you said, it is there are some thankless tasks associated with that.
I didn't say that. I inferred it.
That's right.
Let's be clear.
It's I describe it as being kind of managing 10 Chinese warlords. Each judge can do what they want in their own division. I don't have any authority over them with respect to their cases or how they conduct court. But I assign cases if necessary. I assign caseloads, that sort of thing. And then there's some HR responsibilities with it.
Some of the stuff, the paperwork is what you mean when you say HR response. I hear what I think you're trying to infer. Here's the thing. And I'm one of those, sometimes I'm afraid I'm too honest, but a circuit judge or this kind of judge, what do you do?
Well, so I'm one of 4 circuit judges for the 13th Circuit in Missouri. That's all of Boone County and all of Callaway County. And there are 4 circuit judges, and there are 4 associate circuit judges in Boone County, and then 2 associate circuit judges in Callaway County. And It's jurisdictionally, there's a little bit of a difference between what a circuit judge does and an associate circuit judge. At the circuit level, it's the highest level of a trial court in the state. We hear felony criminal cases, and then we hear civil disputes where the amount in controversy is more than $25,000. And that's the bulk of what I do on a regular basis. I also hear some divorces and some other kind of cases.
Let me ask you this. When you go and you give presentations to groups, whoever, what are some of the most common questions that you get?
Oh, people ask if we really use a gavel. People ask if, about the robe. Yeah, and we really don't use gavels. They're kind of I bet every judge here has one as a decoration in their office, but that's about all they're used for. I think if I took a gavel into court and actually smacked it down, people would just be shocked. You really don't have any need for one these days.
Okay. So that's a common question. Do you really have a gavel? What are some other common questions that people get curious about?
People ask why we wear robes, and
that's a really good question.
Part of it's tradition. Part of it is just supposed to. I think it kind of shows a kind of a cold neutrality. Every judge is wearing the same thing. There's no room for being flashy or cavalier about anything. Everybody's got the same attire on, and I guess the idea is that should promote confidence that the judge is following the law and is not just up there being flamboyant or something.
Judge Brooke Jacobs hanging out with us this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle.
So I recently had the opportunity to hear you speak at the Boone County Bar meeting, and one of the things I found interesting was how you talked about how Boone County compared to some of the other counties and how you handled court during COVID and how our county is doing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, that's something we're real proud about. In a lot of the circuits in the state of Missouri, and really throughout the country, there's a big backlog of cases due to operations really grinding to a halt during COVID. Here in the 13th Circuit, there was about a 2-month period where we weren't able to do much, April and May of 2020. But after that, we were trying cases and having court. It was really business as usual. For quite some time, we had, masks were required, social distancing was required, but we were able to get things done. And now we really are back to business as usual. And not having a backlog of cases means that lawyers, litigants, they can get hearing time when they need it. And that's good for everybody.
Judge Jacobs, thanks so much for joining us, and it's great to see you here in studio. I know you can't, and I think it's important for me to point this out to the listeners. You can't talk, nor would I ask about specifics of a case. I'm going to bring up the Elledge case, but kind of an overview about the media and how big it was. Obviously, I'll be covering the case and not going to ask you about the thoughts on that because he has been convicted. He's scheduled to be sentenced on Friday. But I was there for every day, as you know. I was in there for the pretrial hearings as well. And what stuck out to me is you didn't seem nervous at all, and you kind of impressed me on that. You didn't seem nervous at all, but you had national media, you had the local media, intense trial. You had two very high, the prosecutor, Dan Knight, longtime prosecutor, against Scott Rosenblum, high profile. You didn't seem to get nervous on that. Do you just kind of tune out the fact there's so many media members there, and how do you prepare for that, knowing that we had at that time in Rennick right afterwards, which is a different judge, I realize, so much media in a case like that?
Well, as far as what I do, it doesn't affect me. You mentioned that I didn't seem nervous. I appreciate that, but it doesn't really affect me having a lot of media attention on a case. Where it kind of gives me something to think about is the fact that I want to make sure that the jury is untainted by anything that they could hear about the case. And so in voir dire, the lawyers, of course, extensively will ask, if you've heard about the case, if you've formed an opinion, and if you have, whether you can set that aside and consider only the evidence in the courtroom. And so that's something that I had to consider.
Yeah, and if I could just follow up on that, in terms of the jury selection, I noticed with that one specifically, it was, and I kind of expected that going in because so many, I mean, on every one of my newscasts leading up to it, for months we talked about this case. So a lot of jurors knew about the case, but of course they pledged, even if they knew about it, they pledged to keep an open mind. In both Mr. Rosenblum and Mr. Knight, that's all they could ask, and both of them praised the jury afterwards. The only follow-up, if I may, I noticed Dan Knight and Rosenblum in the pretrial, I think it was a Friday, I was in court, and Dan Knight talked about just the historical fact that a case that gets this much media. And I think he mentioned the Leisure case, and there were a couple others that he mentioned as well. One of Stephen Johns, I think, was one. I don't remember the third one. But the Leisure case was one that I remember. I was a kid in St. Louis, and this involved the underworld. And basically there were car bombings and stuff. One went federal, one went state. But I do remember Dan Knight talking about that as well. How hard was that in terms of being able to select a jury? Because I was watching from a video monitor. Obviously, I couldn't really see everything, and I shouldn't see everything. I could hear stuff. How hard was it, though, to pick a jury in a case that got that much publicity?
It was an issue, as you saw. I mean, and that's something that the lawyers, like I said, they have to voir dire on that.
Sure.
But, one of the hallmarks of justice in America is that we have open courtrooms. Everything is open to the public. We don't send people off to prison and then their loved ones have to wonder what happened. They can be there and watch. The media is allowed, under certain,
Sure.
There are some limitations, but we're happy to have members of the public, and including the media, come to court.
Presiding 13th Circuit Court Judge Brooke Jacobs joining us on the show this morning. You can hang out for a walk. There's a whole bunch of other things we want to ask you about, and I should have said from the get-go, if there's anything that we ask you that you can't or don't want to answer, please do let us know. As a matter of fact, I have a whole list of questions. I thought
you extend that courtesy to every guest, right?
I'm sensitive to your position, and I kind of want to ask about that because you're a judge. You're a taxpayer, you're a voter and a citizen. You have thoughts and opinions, and I don't want to get maybe so much into those thoughts and opinions, but how you handle that. Judge Brooke Jacobs hanging out with us here on 93.9 The Eagle. We'll continue our conversation with him coming up 8:26. We'll do that for you here on 93.9 The Eagle.
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Judge Brooke Jacobs joining us on the show this morning here on Wake Up Columbia. I think it's fascinating because not too often do you ever turn on a TV or turn on a radio. We're interviewing a judge. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you're going to hang out for a while. And by the way, if you have a question for the judge, please text 874-9390, 874-9390. What is that like saying, okay, so you're a judge, and we opened up, you talked about the impartiality and just, we're just here. We don't. But what about in your personal life? Because you vote, you pay taxes, you have opinions, and is that hard sometimes? And not just in a professional setting, but I'm thinking, like in a personal setting, do you ever feel like, I got to be careful about my opinions on some things?
Professionally, it's not hard at all. As a judge, I have to set aside whatever opinions I may have and follow the law as it's written. So there are times where maybe if I were in the legislature, I might vote differently on something. But once the law is passed, it's the job of the judge, the judiciary, to apply that law to whatever the dispute is in front of him. And so professionally, it's not hard. But in my personal life, I do have to be careful about not popping off on opinions like I might have otherwise done.
Have you wanted to?
Oh, on occasion. And even if and of course I am talking on the radio, but even if I'm talking to one person, if I say, oh, I don't like the way, something's happening, and then I've got a case right there in front of me, that's a problem if I've already committed myself to some position on an issue.
Okay. And because I'm wondering, like after work, you're hanging out with some other attorneys, whoever, and if that ever come on, what do you think? I would just think sometimes it's got to be a little bit of a challenge when you want to say more. But there was a situation last week, and it had to do with a battle between an elected official and a media outlet here in Missouri. And somebody said, well, you should have given your opinion on it. Well, it was more judicious, and my opinion was it was not proper to give my opinion on that at the time to ruin an upcoming opportunity. Does that make sense?
Good use of the word judicious.
Exact points for Rathert. I'm calling it. All right, we're hanging out with Judge Brooke Jacobs. We're going to have more with him. I want to ask him some questions. Some of them he'll answer. Some of them we're not sure. I want to ask about putting more justices on the Supreme Court, see if that's something you're even willing to talk about. We'll do that coming up at 8:35. Meanwhile, Fox News is here. There's issues with politicians and coronavirus nationwide that could really start getting in our way. And we have an update on this horrific accident that happened about an hour ago. This was on along Route B, kind of in between 3M and FedEx. We have an update on that. Brian Hauswirth has that for you at 8:31. ABC 17 storm track forecast about 26 today, then maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow by the time you wake up tomorrow. Tomorrow's high only 14. Stop by Club Car Wash, get an unlimited membership, $20 a month.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. There's no school in Chicago today after a vote by teachers to stay away over coronavirus safety concerns.
Chicago's teachers union says its members decided to switch to virtual learning today, all in the name of safety. But critics are calling this decision made overnight both cruel for both parents and students. The teachers union admits this was a controversial vote, but the union says the return to virtual learning is necessary so that teachers could feel safe in their own classrooms, given the sharp rise in COVID cases.
Fox's Mark Meredith. Hong Kong has banned all passenger flights from the United States and 7 other countries trying to keep coronavirus infection rates down there. The head of U.S. Capitol Police says they're better prepared for an event like the January 6th Capitol riot, and that they're aware of several events planned for the anniversary tomorrow.
Most of them aren't of much concern to us.
That's Chief Tom Manger. President Biden plans to speak at the Capitol tomorrow. Former President Trump has canceled a press conference he'd scheduled at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. America's listening to Fox News.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:31. We do have sunshine right now in Columbia, and we are expecting some snow in the forecast for tonight into tomorrow. 17 degrees is our current temperature here in Columbia. It's 16 degrees in Jefferson City. About 1 to 2 inches of snow are expected. More on that in just a moment. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. I want to begin with an update on the situation on Paris Road. Columbia firefighters are telling everyone to avoid that area. Paris Road is completely shut down in both directions at Waco and will be for an extended period of time near the 3M plant. We also have listeners saying that the exit to 63 is shut down due to that multi-vehicle collision. At least 2 vehicles involved, one of which, maybe 2, on fire. A dispatcher telling me that there are injuries. And again, avoid that area. According to the fire department, that will remain closed for an extended period of time. Again, injuries are reported, no other details at this time. Columbia, Jefferson City, Boonville, most of the listening area will be receiving snow tonight into Thursday morning. National Weather Service Pleasant Hill meteorologist Brett Williams tells 93.9 The Eagle light snow expected to start falling between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight through 9 tomorrow morning. 1 to 2 inches of snow is expected with no ice. Missouri's governor and lawmakers in both parties on their way to the Concord Baptist Church. It's right across the street from Hy-Vee in Jefferson City for the legislative prayer breakfast that'll be starting here in about 26 and a half minutes. It's an annual breakfast that starts at 9 ahead of the noon start for the House and Senate to begin the 2022 legislative session. Today is primarily ceremonial. There will be some activity in both chambers, but not a whole lot of floor action in both chambers. And at this point, I'm told by the House leadership that the Speaker of the House, I was told by the House spokesman, I should say, that the Speaker of the House, Rob Vescova, will not be addressing the Missouri House today. Republicans control the Senate, 24-10. They control the House right now, 110-49. But that number is going to change. 2 House Republicans will be resigning here a little bit later today. Justin Hill from Lake St. Louis, Aaron Griesheimer, who is from Washington, Missouri, he'll resign as well. State health officials say an average of more than 15,000 COVID vaccine doses have been administered each day during the past week. And while he opposes mandates, Governor Mike Parson continues to encourage you to get vaccinated.
Every Missourian knows right now where to get a vaccine. They know what the vaccine does. And when you look at our state, we're at a little bit, I think, mid-90s right now for anyone 65 years and older. For people 18 years and older, we're at 72, 73% that's taking the vaccine.
Governor Parson tells Capitol reporters the vaccine works. The State Department of Health and Senior Services says more than 1.1 million Missourians have now received a third COVID vaccine dose. Missouri State Troopers continue to investigate Monday night's deadly head-on crash on Highway 63 north of Columbia. Crash killing 4, it left 3 with serious injuries. Crash happened when 19-year-old Keith Sumner of Roachport was traveling southbound in the northbound lanes of 63. He struck a second vehicle head-on, according to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. And Missouri transportation officials continue to raise concerns about the increasing number of Missouri traffic fatalities. More than 1,000 people killed in traffic crashes across the state in 2021. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction. Homes and lots in the southwest neighborhoods of Chapel Hill Meadows, Nursery Heights, and Creek's Edge. That's Hemi Construction. Our news time, 8:34. Turning our attention now to sports here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Mizzou men's hoops game against Mississippi State is postponed tonight. That's due to COVID issues within the Mizzou basketball program. Makeup date hasn't been set as of yet. Lauren Hansen and Haley Frank, a Mizzou women's team, are the SEC co-players of the week. Congratulations to them. Amazing performance last week against number 1 South Carolina in the upset. And the Blues are in Pittsburgh. They'll battle the Penguins tonight. 6:30 our time. You'll see the game on TNT, which is the network that actually televised the Winter Classic the other day in Minnesota. Sports is brought to you by Tiger Towing. When you can't get going, call Tiger Towing. 573-449-3754, tigertowing.com. Our news time, 8:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is brought to you by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to post your job opening today, and we'll keep you up to date. Right now, the information we have from the dispatchers and authorities in Boone County Joint Communications. We've got and also Columbia Fire Department. We have a multi-vehicle collision on Paris Road. It's closed in both directions right now at Waco due to 3M. I'm told by a dispatcher there are injuries. You're being urged to avoid the area if at all possible. We'll keep you up to date on that. And the fire department is saying that could be closed now, that area, for an extended period of time. We'll have another update coming your way at 9:03. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
You almost have to say it's the responsibility of the parent to protect their child. It is.
Amen, Dr. Fauci. He's right. I don't think he was saying the way I'm interpreting it. I don't think that's what he meant, Steph.
Probably not.
But he's right. It is your responsibility to protect your child. And I want to say this kid's going back to school across mid-Missouri, not being forced to wear masks. If they want to wear masks, if their parents would like them to wear masks, they may. But they are not being forced because parents have done as Fauci has said. They've, as the responsibility is, it is their responsibility to take care of their kids. And Fauci's saying parents need to take responsibility. And they are. It's out of context, but it works for me. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Columbia. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
Ryan Hauswirth is here.
Good morning, sir.
It's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. Judge Brooke Jacobs hanging out with us on the show this morning. Really honored, seriously, you're honored to have you in. It is not too often you hear interviews with judges. Judge Brooke Jacobs, presiding judge, 13th Circuit Court. He was elected to a full term in 2018. His coworkers said, man, you do a pretty good job. Here's some paperwork and HR stuff and a lot of other responsibilities. I'm kidding. And I got to tell you about our very first encounter before we move forward. And I say it's because
I'm not sure I remember this.
Good. That's good. That's good. It was because it's happened before in Idaho. It was the Show Me Luncheon, I think, that we went to at the country club several months back. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and Stephanie and I are there. We're chatting with folks, and I'm seeing this. I'm like, guy looks familiar. And I'm looking, and finally, I think I went over and sat by him, and I'm like, I think we've met before. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And I said, well, who are you, or what's your name? And he says, well, I'm Judge Brooke Jacobs. And then my first thought, I kid you not, because it's happened before, I'm like,
I doubt I said I'm Judge Brooke Jacobs.
Oh, you said something, but I recognized the name, and I'm like, and then I thought, God, have I appeared before this guy before? Is that where I recognize him from? Because it's happened before when I was in Idaho. But that's not the case. I've never made any court appearances here in Missouri.
But that's why he helps you out. He wears the robe in the courtroom so you know who the judge is.
So I know who the judge is. So it's interesting. We talk about some of the responsibilities of what you do, and then some of the personal aspects, which fascinates me. Giving your opinion on some things. I think I'm summarizing. We say sometimes you do feel like, obviously, in a professional aspect, you have to be very careful. Yeah. Probably more so than most of people.
That's right. You know, if people don't have confidence in their judges, then it really creates problems.
So what about something like this? Because you pay taxes, you vote, you take part in life, and these things affect you and your family. So what about if somebody's hanging out? Hey, Brooke, what do you think about adding more justices to the Supreme Court? Is that something professionally here on 93.9 The Eagle this morning that you can, or that you're comfortable giving an opinion on, adding more justices to the Supreme Court?
I'm not real comfortable giving an opinion on that. You know, the main thing is, the worst thing would be if I go out there and say something.
Yeah.
If I say what my position is on some hot button issue, and then I've got a case in front of me where that is at issue. There's never going to be a case in front of me as to, the prudence of having adding Supreme Court justices.
Right.
But nevertheless, it's kind of a political issue, I suppose.
So, and that's what I was going to ask.
I'll bow out.
Yeah, because it's like, well, if right now this side wants to add more justices to the Supreme Court and this side doesn't, well, I'm not going to get involved, because it has become, it's a political thing. right now. So that's interesting.
But, the judiciary does kind of get fired up about their own issues, and specifically more about operations. I mean, you get to go to a lot of conferences with other judges, and there are things that are kind of the hot button issues inside the judiciary. I know they've been working on a more permanent rule about remote appearances, for example. What other issues are kind of hot among the Missouri judiciary right now?
Oh, I think sometimes you hear that, the judiciary sometimes feels as though they get treated like another agency of the state government as opposed to a third, co-equal branch. So there's some talk about that sort of thing. Like anybody, we want more funding, that sort of thing. But otherwise, we steer clear of issues. The legislature passes laws, the executive enforces those laws, and the judiciary applies those laws to people's disputes. That's what we do, and we try to stay out of the issues.
Yeah, and go ahead, Branden. Go ahead. I've just had one more question about the presentation that I listened to at the Pachyderm when you were talking to, and again, 95% of people usually plead. I thought that was kind of a highlight. But then the questions from the audience, I was really impressed, Your Honor, with the questions that the people were asking. And they had I think a lot of them were surprised the court was open, and you emphasized the ability to come down. There was one lady, don't know her name, so I'm going to be very vague in what she said, but I think this highlights something. She had an inmate somewhere, I'm not sure if it was a DOC inmate or county inmate, doesn't really matter, that had apparently threatened her, and she had to go out and get some protection, maybe a bulletproof vest, and she wanted some advice. It's obviously not a case in front of you, but you were able to at least let her know, you have to talk to the prosecutor or the police or whatever you need to do. And then we had other people that asked questions that dealt with, some of the performances you do. How often do you get an opportunity to go out to speak to groups like that?
Not that often. There aren't that many requests. I'm speaking to a Rotary Club, I think on March 1st. Okay. But that's it. Where we come out, if schools want to have a judge, we always make sure somebody goes out and talks to the class. Anytime anyone wants a tour of the courthouse, we're accommodating. But I wish more people in the public would come watch court. I think the national news media pushes a narrative that kind of sows seeds of discord and distrust about our judicial system. And I think if you ask a lawyer, they may have problems with things that we do, and by no means am I suggesting that our system of justice is perfect, but I will say that I think it's the best system in the world. And if I were a party to a case, I'd much rather be in America than any other country. And so I want to do whatever I can to promote civic education and kind of explain what we do as judges and how our system operates.
Judge Brooke Jacobs joining us this morning on 93.9 The Eagle. It's Wake Up Columbia. You said you think the national media kind of, and since you're a judge, I especially don't want to distort what you're saying, but the national media distorts how we see court proceedings?
Well, for example,
so?
There's a narrative out there that we're just sending people to prison left and right, for simple possession of a drug or something. And if anybody that comes to court, you'll see people getting probation left and right, and oftentimes that's a result of plea bargains. But if I'm sending somebody to prison, oftentimes this is their fifth felony, and probation hasn't worked before, and now they're going to prison. But I am sort of resentful of this idea that I think is pushed by the national news media, that we're just willy-nilly throwing people up in prison. The general public, for example, has no idea that in Missouri we have a parole policy that if somebody is remanded to prison for the first time, maybe it may be a fifth felony, but they've gotten probation other times, never been to prison. Your first time going to prison, you are eligible for parole. I think it's when 30% of your sentence is served. So somebody gets a maximum 7-year sentence for burglary, let's say. They kicked in the door of your house. They get 7 years on that. They're eligible for parole, after just a year and a half, 2 years. And I think the public has no idea about that.
All right. Coming up, I want to ask you if you can hang out for just a few more minutes before we wrap up and get into the Gary Nolan show here at 9 o'clock. I want to talk about what is it you like best about what you do? What are some of the biggest challenges? And I don't want you to give me the number now, but do we know roughly, like, how many criminal cases here are pleaded out? Do we have kind of a rough estimate? Don't give me the number, but do we know that number?
No, I might have said 95%. I'd say it's maybe 98%, and that's normal. It's that way probably in every jurisdiction in the country. And plea bargaining also has kind of a negative connotation. But if you think about it, it's sort of a marketplace. You have the prosecutor who knows what the risk and reward is of going to trial. You have the defense attorney who knows the risks and rewards and what their exposure is. And they come to a resolution that's suitable to them. And, if you believe in a market, then that's kind of the fair outcome, perhaps.
All right, Judge Brooke Jacobs here on 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up, we'll wrap it up with him before the Gary Nolan show. I want to ask what it is that you like best about what you get to do, and then maybe some of the biggest challenges. More with Judge Brooke Jacobs coming up on 93.
political opinion, we got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Judge Brooke Jacobs hanging out with us this morning on Wake Up Columbia. He was appointed to the court 2017, elected to a full term 2018, and then his co-workers elected him to serve as presiding judge for the 13th Circuit Court in 2021. What's some of the, because I want to ask you, like, what is it you like most about your job? We were talking about breakdown of cases that are pled as opposed to actually to go to trial. What about the number of bench trials compared to the number of jury trials? Roughly an idea of a breakdown that you see in your courtroom.
I would say most cases would go to jury trial. Now, that said, we don't have a lot of jury trials. If it's maybe a smaller scale business dispute, those are often going to be a bench trial. So meaning the judge is the trier of fact and the law. Most people think that, the judge is finding people guilty or not guilty or deciding liability on a civil case. That's the job of the trier of fact, which is the jury. And so most of our criminal cases are tried to juries. And that's a misconception that people have, is that the judge is the one that's making those decisions. As the judge, we decide what the law is. So we decide based on the rules, we're deciding what the jury is allowed to hear.
Okay. What is it that you like most about what you do?
Well, I enjoy, I was a courtroom lawyer. I was in court, every day as an attorney, and now I get to be in court every day as a judge, and that's what I like. We have appellate judges, the Western District Court of Appeals. We have the Supreme Court. They're not in court quite as much. They're doing reading and writing, and that's not very appealing to me. So
your thing was always being in the courtroom as an attorney, and now here I can do this in this role. I can do this. What's the biggest challenge with what you do?
Oh, it's a challenge that, in most of your interactions, in my interactions outside of court, you want to be able to make people happy. If you have a disagreement with something, you can talk your way through it and you're happy and they're happy. In court, if I've got two people in front of me with a dispute, there's not always a way to make both sides happy. Sometimes by following the law, it's necessarily going to make one person unhappy. And, they may leave there, thinking I'm no good. And that sometimes hurts, but that's the nature of the job. And there's no way to explain yourself after the fact. Sometimes I'll make a ruling, and then I read media reports about it, and I think, well, gosh, they got that wrong, or that's not why I did it. But too late. I can't just go call a press conference and say, hey, as a matter of fact, here's why I did this. You're stuck with what happens in court. You can explain yourself when you're rendering your decision in open court. If you're making a written decision, you can explain your rationale. But beyond that, you're pretty much stuck with how things are reported, and there's nothing you can do to correct the record.
Well, and I think you said sometimes one party ends up unhappy, but I think, in jest, people often say, like in a divorce case, you did the right thing when both parties walk away a little bit unhappy. So oftentimes, no one's happy, right?
That's true, yeah.
That's, divorce and family, and you deal with some of the family law stuff.
I do that.
Yeah.
It's humbling that people put their trust in our judges to make these decisions.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as we get ready to wrap up our visit with Judge Brooke Jacobs here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, when I adopted my son, had been in his life since he was like 2 years old, and made it official. And the judge was Twin Falls, Idaho, and the judge, he was short, because he was like 5 years old at the time. And the judge told little Trevor, stand up on that table. He stands up on the table in this courtroom. And the judge, he says, I hereby, you're now adopted, and I sentence your parents to take you to Dairy Queen afterwards. And it was just something that you didn't expect in a courtroom, but it goes back. You want people to feel good. And
judges love adoptions. We like to say they're the only happy things that happen in the courthouse are adoptions, and then sometimes we do weddings. But everything else is, somebody's got a problem, and there's not a way to just make them happy.
Hannah, the producer, has a problem. She needs somebody to marry her, and Brent says, that's good to know. We'll get you in here. You can marry Judge Brooke Jacobs. thank you so much for taking an hour out of your day to sit here and chat with the folks of Mid-Missouri, kind of giving some insight to what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Gary Nolan's show is coming up next tomorrow. Doing the show live from the governor's annual prayer breakfast. Governor Mike Parson is on the show tomorrow morning, 7:15. See ya.
Bye.